I awakened the strongest class in history, Dragon Tamer. But the principal announced in front of everyone that it's the most useless class. This is because dragons are the most powerful creatures in this world. And for thousands of years, they've never been tamed by humans. Little did they know. I had awakened the super treasure system. I know the exact location of every single dragon egg in the world. Not only that, I also successfully tamed a little female dragon. It turns out this is a world where reality and games are merged. Everyone here must become a class user before they turn 18. Otherwise, they'll be social outcasts. However, 99% of people can only change into the lowest tier of life-based classes. Meanwhile, combat classes can use powerful abilities to explore various secret realms and dungeons, and earn huge rewards. That's why combat classes are what everyone dreams of. Today was the Dragon Nation's annual class awakening ceremony. My teacher was speaking passionately on the stage. Students, today's ceremony not only affects whether you can get into college, but it's even more critical for your future development. As my teacher announced that the ceremony was about to begin, all the students excitedly rushed out of the classroom. But I was the only one who stayed seated, motionless. This was because a system panel had appeared before me. Felix, congratulations on activating the super treasure system. But before I could figure out what the system did, my teacher's voice pulled me back to reality. Felix, you're one of the school's top students, but don't put too much pressure on yourself for the awakening. I gave him a quick nod and rushed to the ceremony. Regardless of what the system could do, the most important thing right now was to complete the awakening ceremony. The venue was already packed with people. With a wave of the principal's hand, the ceremony officially began. Leo, the school heartthrob and top student, was the first to step onto the stage. Soon, the awakening crystal erupted with a dazzling golden light. And a moment later, Leo awakened as a rare combat class, a fire mage. The other students were filled with envy, because awakening as a combat class meant saying goodbye to a mediocre life. A few more students went up, but without exception, they all awakened as life classes, doomed to be low-level laborers for the rest of their lives. Seeing this made me anxious. It seemed combat classes were still the minority, and most people were destined to live ordinary lives. While I was lost in thought, the principal called my name. Felix from class 25, come up for your awakening. I walked straight through the crowd toward the awakening crystal, feeling incredibly nervous. I wondered what class I'd awaken as. As I placed my hands on the awakening crystal, a blinding golden light instantly swept across the area. The next second, a massive eyeball slowly opened in the darkness. Soon, the entire square began to shake. A beam of golden light descended from the sky, enveloping me. While my classmates looked on in shock, the phantom of a giant dragon emerged from the awakening crystal. Everyone who saw this was scared witless. This was a phenomenon only seen with legendary hidden classes. My teacher, watching from nearby, broke into a cold sweat. This dragon phantom was a sign of the strongest hidden classes. If I could become a dragon blood warrior or a dragonic mage, I would surely create a new history for the Dragon Nation and become a powerhouse of the new generation. As the dragon in the sky let out a roar at me, the awakening ceremony finally came to an end. Once the smoke cleared, the principal grabbed my shoulders, looking ecstatic. Kid, what class did you awaken as? Is it Dragon Blood Warrior or Dragonic Mage? I gritted my teeth in despair. I awakened as a Dragon Tamer. Hearing this, the principal beside me looked like he'd been struck by lightning. The surrounding teachers and students were even more incredulous. With such a grand display, how could this be possible? Then, the principal finally screamed at the top of his lungs. How could it be the trashiest class, the Dragon Tamer? You have to understand that dragons in this world, they are like gods in this world. No matter how strong a human is, they are like ants before a dragon. For thousands of years, humans have never been able to tame one. Dreaming of becoming a dragon tamer is nothing more than a fantasy. The crowd below erupted in sighs. Even though it was a hidden profession, it only offered the weakest capabilities, meaning I was destined to be mediocre for the rest of my life. Even the principal tried his best to comfort me. He told me, "It's okay, kid. At least it's a hidden profession, and those have infinite potential." But hearing his words only made me feel more hopeless. How could a dragon tamer without a dragon ever become powerful? Filled with despair, I walked home without even realizing it. My Aunt Grace, who had a life-based profession, had already prepared a feast for dinner. When she saw me, Grace warmly pulled me into a hug. She exclaimed, "Felix, you're back. Come and eat dinner." She then impatiently pulled me toward the table. She added, "Today is the big day for your class change. So how did it go? What profession did you get?" I hesitated, not knowing how to explain the situation to her. Grace quickly noticed something was wrong and tried to comfort me. "It's okay if you didn't get a combat class. Going out and fighting all day would only make me worry." But before Grace could finish, I interrupted her. "Grace, I've become a dragon tamer. It's a class where you can't do anything without a dragon. But after hearing my words, Grace didn't look disappointed at all. Instead, she hugged my head from behind and comforted me. Felix, becoming a Dragon Tamer is already amazing. If you can get into college in the future, I'll keep supporting you until you graduate. I was deeply moved by her words. But after returning to my room, I thought about Grace's scarred hands. Grace is only 26. But despite working so hard for all these years, she still couldn't change her ordinary life. Now I've awakened a legendary hidden class. But that still doesn't change Grace's current situation. I really can't accept this. Just then, the system suddenly sent a notification. Congratulations, Felix. The first day's treasure map has been sent. That's when I remembered that today. I awakened the super treasure map system. According to the system, treasure maps are divided into several ranks: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and god rank. The system sends one treasure map of a random rank and location every day. By simply going to the location on the map, I can obtain treasures related to my profession. Seeing this, hope flared up in my heart once again. Dragon Tamers are the weakest because no one has ever been able to tame a dragon. But if I use this system correctly, I'll have a chance to bridge the gap between the weakest and the strongest. This god-tier treasure map is my hope for a turnaround. With that thought, I resolutely opened the map. No matter what, I had to reach the location of the treasure. The next morning, Grace had just woken up to prepare breakfast when she found the farewell letter I left on the table. Meanwhile, I had already boarded a bus to the Rocky Plains. But as soon as I stepped off the bus, I was surrounded by a group of bounty hunters. These guys were experts at killing and looting. And at the moment, I didn't have a single usable skill. To avoid a direct confrontation, I told them coldly, I'm a summoner, I don't need companions. If I encounter danger, I can just solve it by summoning elemental creatures. Hearing this, the bounty hunters were surprised. But they didn't doubt my identity. After all, anyone brave enough to come to this wilderness alone certainly isn't an ordinary person. So they stopped pestering me and left immediately. I looked at the location marked by the treasure icon and continued heading toward it. Soon, I encountered a small group of level 8 ox horses. Although they're generally gentle and won't attack first, if they're startled, I could easily be trampled to death. So I slowed my pace as much as possible, carefully making my way through the jungle. But before I could even take a few steps, I accidentally stepped on a frog. With a loud croak, the entire herd was instantly enraged. Seeing this, I bolted and ran as fast as I could out of the jungle. I ran for a full 2.5 hours before I finally managed to escape the herd's pursuit. But just then, I unexpectedly discovered that I had accidentally stumbled upon the treasure location. Perfect. According to the system prompt, the treasure was right ahead, where the red light was glowing. But when I reached the spot, I found. Inside, there was actually a dragon egg that could change my destiny. Before I could think much more, the egg suddenly made a cracking sound. The system indicated that this black dragon egg was about to hatch. But suddenly, I heard a rustling sound behind me. Seeing this, I pulled out the beginner's machete provided by the school from my backpack and swung it right at whatever was behind me. To my surprise, it was a bloodthirsty gray fox. With my current strength, I was no match for it. My only plan now was to stall for as much time as possible, then wait for Shadow to be born, tame it, and make my escape. But in less than 2.5 seconds, the gray fox's fierce attack struck again. I was forced to fight back. I didn't expect to win by just flailing around, but the gray fox was actually hacked to death by my wild swings. But just as I breathed a sigh of relief, a voice came from behind me. You struggled that much just for a little gray fox. So this is what they call a summoner. Pathetic. The speaker was the trio of bounty hunters from before. Hearing this, I kicked the gray fox's corpse toward them. If you want the pelt, you can have it, just stop bothering me. The one-eyed man looked at the corpse and gave a sleazy smile. How is one pelt enough for the three of us to share? As he spoke, his gaze shifted toward the cave. What we want is the thing inside. Hearing this, I knew things were about to get bad. These guys must have seen the dragon egg I found. Before I could even process it, the three of them suddenly attacked me. Brock punched me, sending me flying 250 meters. Just as I tried to get up, Candy's dagger was already at my throat. Don't move, handsome, or you'll get cut, she whispered. Meanwhile, Brock brought the dragon egg out of the cave. Seeing the egg, Dexter ordered them to kill me. I felt completely hopeless. The dragon egg was gone, and I was about to die young. I just couldn't accept this. But right then, the dragon egg in Brock's hands suddenly shattered. A dark shadow leaped out from inside. The three of them gasped at the small creature hovering in the air, wondering what the hell it was. Before they could react, Shadow swooped down on them with a whoosh. Dexter hurriedly threw a poison gas bomb, but Shadow dodged it with ease. Brock swung his fist to strike back. But a second later, Shadow released a sonic wave from its mouth, instantly shredding Brock into a bloody mess. Dexter was so terrified, he practically wet himself and screamed for them to run. I was shocked by the sight before me. Even a hatchling is this powerful. No wonder no one can tame the dragon race. When Chloe realized it was a dragon, she was completely stunned. She thought it was just an ordinary beast egg, not the legendary dragon race. Soon, one eye became Shadow's meal. I seized the opportunity, pushed Chloe aside, and ran toward Shadow. Then, I used my professional skill, dragon taming art. A golden light enveloped Shadow. A system notification popped up. The contract with Shadow was signed, and I successfully tamed him. Seeing this, Chloe was terrified and immediately knelt to beg for mercy. But remembering how she almost killed me, I didn't hesitate to order Shadow to kill her. After bandaging my wounds, I began to examine Shadow. I truly couldn't believe that I had actually tamed a dragon. I can already imagine the moment I rise from the weakest to the strongest. Shadow is already this powerful as a newborn. I can't even imagine how strong he'll be after leveling up. But then I ran into a problem. What should I name this little guy? Little Black Ball. No, Black Kong. That doesn't seem right either. But suddenly, the little guy licked the wound on my arm. The next second, a burst of red energy radiated from its body. Once the energy faded, Shadow actually turned into a long-legged beauty with red hair and stockings. I looked on in total disbelief. You can actually take human form. Hearing me, Shadow gave a cute little nod. I couldn't wait to open my system panel. Class, Dragon Tamer. Just as I thought, taming a dragon unlocked all the dragon taming skills. The buffs from these skills already far exceed those of any other class. Then, I checked Shadow's attribute panel. But a second later, I was stunned. Even at level 1, Shadow's attributes were already far beyond human levels. Self-recovery increased by 500%, immunity to all debuffs, and all damage taken reduced by 50%. The bloodline connection skill also directly doubled my attributes. Seeing this, I smiled smugly to myself. What 3 strongest hidden classes? They're all nothing compared to my dragon. Without a doubt, the Dragon Tamer is the strongest hidden class. Looking at the silly little black dragon beside me, I was conflicted again. Although she can take human form, she still has the habits of a dragon. And what should I name her? A little black dragon born in the dark of night. How about I call you Luna? After naming her, I patted her little head. Are you hungry? Now it's time to hunt some monsters. To fill Luna's belly. Plus, the university assessment is coming up soon. Before that, I must raise my level. Soon, a pack of hyenas that smelled blood charged toward us in a great wave. Plains hyenas are far more dangerous than those bloodthirsty gray foxes. Before, I would have had to flee in panic. But now that I have Luna, these hyenas are nothing more than experience points. With that thought, I gave the order to attack and charged into the pack along with the little black dragon. In the blink of an eye, the little black dragon flew above the hyenas. She began charging energy in her mouth. And a second later, streaks of scorching fire spewed forward, dealing damage and healing her at the same time. And those hyenas all turned into experience as they perished in the sea of fire. In just 2.5 seconds, I reached level 11. Luna also successfully reached level 3. But leveling up this way is still too slow. So I looked toward the distance and said, Luna, forget about these small fry. There's a big guy over there who's been waiting for us for a long time. Just as I finished speaking, a level 25, 3-headed bloodlion slowly emerged from the cave. Usually, only hunter teams dare to approach beasts of this level. But I led Luna and charged forward without hesitation. The bloodlion immediately used its roar skill to boost its attack and defense for a short time. Then, its 3 heads opened wide, charging up a massive fire attack. Seeing this, I immediately ordered Luna to interrupt its casting. Hearing this, Luna's entire body instantly erupted in scorching flames. Then, under the shocked gaze of the bloodlion, Luna transformed into her true form and launched a colossal strike. In the blink of an eye, Luna interrupted the bloodlion's attack and severely injured all 3 of its heads. I seized the opportunity to leap above the 3-headed bloodlion and slammed my fist into its head with a dragon fang strike. After the battle, my level jumped straight to level 14. As expected of an elite monster, the experience for reaching H rank is indeed generous. Just then, the artisan system sent a notification. The treasure map system was triggered, and today's map had been sent. Seeing this, I immediately told Luna to follow me. Let's go treasure hunting. Meanwhile, deep in the stony plains, a 4-person team was stuck at the entrance of a secret realm. It turned out this realm required 5 people to open, but they only had 4. Monty suggested, why don't we send Chloe back to Zhanghai City to bring someone else along? Chloe shook her head. No, even with my agility, the round trip would take at least a day and a night. Aurora, the team leader, sighed. Chance secret realms spawn randomly. While the rewards are better than normal dungeons, they only last 24 hours. There's simply no time now. Monty tried to comfort her. Miss, don't worry. With your strength, once you enter one of the 10 great academies, they'll definitely provide you with secret realms. Suddenly, a strange noise sounded behind them, and the group immediately went on high alert. Once they heard I was just passing through, Monty breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, Aurora suddenly extended an olive branch, inviting me to team up and explore this secret realm. She told me I wouldn't have to do anything and would still receive a reward of 100,000 Dragon City coins. Hearing this, I stopped in my tracks. Since this was a secret realm that even the Qin family of Jianghai City wanted to enter, the final reward definitely wouldn't be simple. I smiled and told them, I'm not interested in money, but I want the rewards to be distributed based on our actual performance. They were stunned. The 4 of them were all above level 20. They wondered why I, who was only in my teens, was so confident, or if I was just being arrogant. After thinking it over, Aurora reached out her hand, agreeing to my terms. Then, she led the team back toward the secret realm. To avoid any unnecessary trouble, I had already placed Luna in the system space, intending to summon her only when needed. As the 5 of us entered the secret realm, the entrance behind us slowly vanished. Then, a system notification appeared. Secret realm. Level 20. Capacity, 5 people. Sensing the eerie atmosphere of the realm, everyone began to feel uneasy. The air here is heavy, and there seems to be no sign of life. Monty saw that I was empty-handed and looked completely speechless. You kid, don't tell me you don't even have a piece of equipment. Hearing this, I opened my hand and pulled out the ink dragon scale sword I'd found from a treasure map recently. Seeing this, Monty was shocked. Young man, this weapon of yours looks extraordinary. But before he could finish, a group of level 15 decayed zombies suddenly burst from the ground. Seeing this, Justin, the knight in our party, immediately used his shield skill to block the zombies' attack. The other teammates also began to show their skills, launching an attack on the zombie horde. I saw Aurora raise her staff high and begin chanting a skill. 2.5 seconds later, a golden rain began to fall from the sky. Holy Star Rain deals holy damage to surrounding enemies, while providing an equal amount of healing to allies. It turned out Aurora's class was a hidden one, the Holy Light Mage, which allowed her to handle both offense and defense. Seeing this, I couldn't help but marvel. So that's how it is. Aurora's holy damage was absolutely lethal to the zombies. But just then, the entire earth suddenly began to shake. Immediately after, a group of level 20 blood zombies burst from the ground. Facing these higher-level monsters, no one dared to slack off. They all raised their weapons, preparing to fight again. Under the cover of Justin's shield, Monty leaped high and swung his sword, delivering a full moon slash to an approaching zombie. However, these attacks were completely ineffective against the blood zombies. They even used their bodies to trap the group's weapons inside them. Then, the horde began releasing corpse poison. This poison caused targets to lose health continuously while restoring the zombie's own health. Justin was about to be consumed by the poison, when Monty quickly dropped his weapon and pushed him out of the way. Seeing that everyone was helpless against these zombies, I slowly walked forward. Let me handle this. Hearing this, Monty was shocked. Kid, are you crazy? None of us are their match. Get back, quickly. But before he could finish, I had already swung my blade at the attacking zombie. Under their astonished gazes, I followed up with several more strikes. Before they could even react, I had already taken out all the surrounding zombies. Seeing this, Monty asked nervously, What level are you exactly? You're just a student who just changed classes. How could he have such high attack power? I just gave a calm smile. I'm not lying. I'm really just a level 14 student who came here for the great trial. Hearing this, Aurora frowned slightly. She couldn't believe I was from the same year as her. Since I was only level 14, how could my attack power be higher than Uncle Greg's, who was level 28? Before she could think more about it, a blood zombie lunged out from behind her. In the nick of time, Chloe stepped in front of Aurora with her bow and arrow. But to her shock, I was even faster than she was. Before she could pull the trigger, I had already driven my blade through the blood zombie's chest. Then, I turned to the group and told them that the zombies in the village would only get stronger, so since there was an opening in the front line, I'd take over. Aurora readily agreed. But after learning my name, she looked completely shocked. Felix, she thought. The rumored hidden class, the Dragon Tamer, who just appeared recently. But that's impossible. Isn't the Dragon Tamer supposed to be the weakest class? Afterward, under my lead, the squad quickly fought their way into the center of the village. Now we must clear this stage as quickly as possible. Otherwise, Justin, who's infected with the zombie virus, could turn into a zombie at any moment. Just as everyone was searching for the Realm Guardian, a red light suddenly flashed from the building behind us. A second later, a zombie made entirely of steel rose from the ground. Its steel skin increases its maximum health and allows it to absorb targets to heal itself. Seeing this, Monty was the first to attack. However, his sword strike felt like hitting a solid wall of steel. It didn't deal any damage to the steel zombie. I leaped up, wielding my dragon scale sword. I landed a direct hit on the steel zombie's head. But to my surprise, the blow only managed to knock off a piece of its outer plating. Suddenly, the steel zombie went berserk. It charged toward Justin on the ground, preparing to absorb him. I then activated the dragon scale sword's unique skill, Dragon Blood Armor. This allows the user to partially transform into a dragon to increase their combat power. Soon, my right hand transformed into a dark dragon claw. Meanwhile, Aurora began casting skills to provide cover for me. With the support of her holy light star ring, I struck the steel zombie's chest with my dragon claw. The steel zombie shrieked in pain. Its body then began to disintegrate. Seeing this, I warned the others that it seemed this steel zombie had become so massive by fusing and absorbing others. Its true body must be wrapped inside. As the steel zombie continued to disintegrate, its true body was soon revealed. Seeing this, I took a sudden step and charged at the steel zombie again. Then, with lightning speed, I drove my claw straight into the steel zombie's forehead. With a loud boom, I landed gracefully while the steel zombie behind me crumbled into powder. The others were stunned by the sight. They couldn't believe the Realm Guardian had been one-shot. Aurora was also shocked. A skill she had never seen before could actually one-shot a level 20 boss. Felix, what on earth have you been hiding? With the Realm Guardian defeated, a silver-ranked chest appeared before us. Seeing this, Aurora stepped forward and told me, "Don't worry, Felix, I'll distribute the rewards according to our agreement." Monty also showered me with praise. "Not bad, kid. With this kind of strength, you could easily clear this place solo. Now it feels like we're just here to make up the numbers." Aurora slowly opened the chest, but the rewards were a huge disappointment. There were only a few healing potions and a level 10 wrist guard. Seeing this, I immediately fell into thought. Logically, a level 20 opportunity realm shouldn't have such meager rewards. What exactly went wrong? Before I could think further, Aurora handed the most valuable bracer to me. "Felix, this is your reward." Soon, everyone noticed something was wrong. Although the realm guards had been defeated, the portal still hadn't appeared. Then, Chloe suggested we look around. But I tensely told everyone not to move. Because at that moment, the system panel showed that the steel zombie wasn't the final boss. Aurora, being a holy light mage, also seemed to sense a dark presence. She pointed toward the lake shrouded in black mist and said, "That thing is right there." As we approached the lake, the creature sleeping at the bottom suddenly snapped open hundreds of eyes. A second later, countless tentacles covered in eyeballs burst from the water. I was shocked to see that the monster's system panel was filled with nothing but question marks. Before anyone could think further, those tentacles suddenly attacked everyone. With just one strike, Monty, the highest level member of the team, was instantly knocked to the ground. Aurora was also quickly surrounded by the tentacle monster. Seeing that she was in danger, I rushed forward and swept Aurora up in my arms. I then stepped aside and dodged the monster's attack. Just as we caught our breath, the main body of the tentacle monster burst from the water and revealed itself. This innocent and kind girl never imagined that she, who prayed to the gods every day, would actually change classes into a despised dark witch. From then on, she was branded as an evil being by the Holy Church. They didn't just chain her up tightly, they eventually threw her into the lake to drown. The boss of the secret realm had now fully revealed itself. At that moment, Monty, dragging his heavily injured body, stepped in front of the group. "I'll hold it off." But just as he finished speaking, the tentacle monster attacked him directly. Monty fought desperately to block the attack, while I seized the opportunity to charge forward. Now, there was only one way to win, and that was to take down the monster's main body. But suddenly, the monster's main body let out a piercing scream. The next second, a skill entwined with corpse chi caused everyone's attributes to instantly drop by 20%. I dodged the tentacle monster's attacks while closing in on its main body. Seeing me get closer, the monster immediately swung its chains at me, while also lashing out at the others below. Seeing this, Jake immediately stepped forward with his shield to block. While dealing with the tentacles constantly attacking me, I kept an eye on the others. No, if they keep trying to hold out like this, they'll die? With that thought, I stepped on one of the chains and used the recoil to launch myself forward again. After cutting through several more tentacles, the monster instantly entered a berserk state, continuously swinging its chains at me. I activated my dragon blood armor again, slicing through the surrounding chains with one claw before stepping back to rejoin my team. That's when Monty suggested, "We can't handle this boss for now, we should retreat." Hearing this, I told them to retreat back into the village first and leave the cleanup to me. I stopped hiding my strength. With a wave of my hand, a golden magic circle instantly materialized. A second later, Luna emerged from the circle and engaged the tentacle monster in a fierce fight. Seeing the giant dragon appear behind me, Monty and the others were completely stunned. It's a dragon. As Luna launched a relentless assault, every single one of the tentacle monster's limbs was sliced apart. Then, Luna flew toward the main body in the air. With just a single strike, the tentacle monster was instantly killed. As the monster let out a piercing shriek, everyone finally snapped back to reality. They were stunned that this boss was so fragile when facing a dragon. At this moment, Aurora finally dared to confirm my identity. Felix, are you really the legendary Dragon Tamer from Jianghai City? But while Aurora and the others were still reeling from my ability to summon a dragon, the previously calm lake began to churn once again. A second later, massive waves surged toward the sky, and the realm boss that had just been killed reappeared before everyone. Seeing this, Aurora and the others were completely shocked. I stood my ground, ready for battle at any moment. It turned out this boss was once just an ordinary girl born under the protection of the church. But when a plague broke out, the villagers in her town began to die one by one. The surviving girl prayed to the gods every day, hoping she could change her class to one that could save everyone. But on the day she turned 18, she awakened as a dark witch. Not only did she fail to gain the ability to cure the plague, but the church also branded her the culprit behind it. To prevent the plague from spreading, the church bound her in iron chains and threw her into the lake beside the village. The girl never imagined her kindness would be met with such absolute malice. Her intense resentment turned her into the final boss of this secret realm. Now, the returning sorrowful wraith kept screaming at everyone, "You are the ones who deserve to die." Her attribute panel soon appeared before everyone. Body of resentment, immune to all physical damage. The revived sorrowful wraith had entered her second phase. The difficulty had increased from hard to nightmare rank. Deep water cage manipulates the lake water into a prison to trap targets. Even her basic attributes had been greatly enhanced. Seeing this, Chloe couldn't stop trembling. They weren't even a match for the first phase boss. So facing the second phase, they would only be insta-killed. Just then, the boss attacked first, controlling water figures too, hurled giant water spheres at them. Luckily, Luna reacted in time and blocked the waterman's attack with her wings. But Chloe wasn't as lucky, as she was trapped by a cage formed from a water ball and couldn't move. Despite her best efforts, she still couldn't break free from the water prison. Seeing this, Chloe looked desperate. "Miss, I'm sorry, I can't accompany you to complete this mission." Hearing this, Aurora collapsed to the ground. "I'm the one who should apologize. If I hadn't insisted on coming to this secret realm, I wouldn't have caused everyone to get trapped here." Seeing how depressed everyone was, I spoke sternly. "We've come this far. Are you really willing to just give up?" Monty looked helpless. The evolved boss is completely immune to physical damage. In this situation, we're struggling just to protect ourselves. So how are we supposed to deal with it? Aurora also looked worried. "I'm the only one here who can use magic, but my damage is barely a scratch to the boss." Before they could say another word, the waterman opened its huge hand and attacked again. And its attack was once again blocked by Luna. I gave a faint smile. I can't use magic, but Luna can. With her shadow dragon bloodline, Luna can reduce incoming damage by 50%, and she is immune to all debuffs. Everyone was shocked to hear this. The power of the dragon race is truly as terrifying as the legends say. As the water creature attacked again, I clenched my fists and activated the dragon race's exclusive skill, Dragon's Inspiration. It boosts all attributes for both me and my dragon pet by 30%. Once buffed, Luna immediately spread her wings and flew toward the water creature. Under my command, Luna opened her mouth wide and unleashed lava flame. It deals damage while simultaneously healing her. As Luna continued to spray flames, the boss let out a series of wails. In less than 2.5 seconds, the boss began to disintegrate under the intense heat. Everyone watching was stunned. They didn't expect that even after evolving, the boss would still be crushed by the dragon's overwhelming power. Following a violent explosion, the sorrowful wraith completely vanished from the secret realm, leaving behind only a golden treasure chest and a portal. My level also rose to 15. Luna reached level 10. At this moment, Monty and the others breathed a sigh of relief. The portal has appeared, so we can leave now. But just as everyone thought it was finally over, countless zombies suddenly burst from the ground. It turned out that before the sorrowful wraith zombie died, it had awakened all the zombies in the secret realm. Before Monty and the others could react, Luna had already flown forward. With a wide open mouth, streams of lava flame blasted from her. The surrounding zombies were instantly incinerated in the sea of fire. Seeing this, Aurora and Monty looked on with complex expressions. Is this little girl the giant dragon from before? The zombies we struggled so hard to kill were dealt with so easily by her. I gave a calm smile from behind them. That's right, Luna was that little shadow dragon. Dealing with these underlings is like child's play to her. Then, I turned toward the treasure chest on the ground and said, "We can leave once we distribute the rewards. According to the rules, I'll pick first. No objections, right?" Soon, after getting Aurora's agreement, I opened the golden treasure chest dropped by the secret realm boss. And the rewards did not disappoint us. First, a fine-quality holy light scepter that can cast a holy light seal to bind targets. Then, a fine-quality twilight cloak that provides the wearer with a protective barrier. And a rare quality ring of sorrow that grants an aura, adding multiple debuffs to the target's attacks. Finally, there was a class change scroll that allows a normal class to undergo a second advancement, with a tiny chance of becoming a hidden class. I chose the scroll without hesitation. But this left Aurora a bit confused. "Felix, you don't have to be so considerate of us. According to the rules, these rewards should all be yours, since you killed the boss all by yourself." I just smiled. "I'm not just playing the gentleman. It's just that this equipment suits you better, and I really need this scroll." However, to my surprise, Aurora gave me the Ring of Sorrow. "If it weren't for you, we all might have died here. So please, take this." Since she put it that way, I couldn't really refuse. So I happily pocketed the ring. Seeing me accept it, Aurora smiled. "Do you have any other talents you haven't revealed yet?" 2.5 hours later, I returned to Grace's bun shop. The moment we met, Grace hugged me tightly. "Do you have any idea how dangerous it is out there? You're not allowed to just go off adventuring like that anymore." As she spoke, Grace actually started crying. "You left without saying a word. I couldn't sleep for days. I was so afraid you'd never come back." Feeling her worry, I quickly comforted her. "Don't worry, Grace. I won't let you worry about me ever again." Then, I wiped the tears from her face. "Stop crying, Grace. I'm back in one piece, aren't I?" Once Grace composed herself, she began to look at Shadow, who was standing beside me. She couldn't believe such a cute girl was actually a legendary, incredibly powerful dragon. That was when I pulled out the class change scroll. "Grace, this is a dungeon reward I picked out specifically for you." To my surprise, Grace immediately refused. "I can't accept something so valuable. You risked your life to get this. And you have the great trial coming up soon. You should sell this scroll to buy better equipment." Hearing this, I immediately showed her my account balance. I don't lack money or equipment now. This adventure didn't just let me successfully tame Luna, but I also walked away with a nice reward. We'll never have to worry about money again. Hearing that, Grace gave me a relieved smile and finally accepted the scroll. Soon, under my watchful eye, Grace opened the class change scroll. A dazzling blue light instantly enveloped her. As the scroll shattered, mysterious runes began swirling around her. 2.5 minutes later, Grace successfully changed into a hidden class, Enchanting Chef. Not only are her cooking skills more refined than ever, but she can now add various buffs to the food she makes. While Grace and I were talking, Luna had already polished off everything in the bun shop and was now fast asleep on the floor. Meanwhile, in the living room of the Magnus family villa, Aurora was telling her father all about the adventure. Thinking about how powerful my hidden class is, she felt a bit discouraged. "Felix is just too strong. The difference between us is like a firefly compared to the moon." Magnus swirled the wine in his glass. "The fact that he tamed Shadow, you haven't told anyone else about it, have you?" "No, I made a promise to Felix that the Magnus family would keep the secret about the dragon." Hearing this, Magnus turned and smiled. "You did well. Once this leaks out, the factions coveting the power of dragons probably won't be able to stay calm." Hearing this, Aurora stood up nervously. "He saved our lives. You don't have any designs on his dragon, do you?" Magnus just smiled. "How could I be that kind of person? The real question is, how do you plan to repay him for saving your life?" When I invited him to join the team, I promised him a payment of 100,000. Magnus sighed. "Tell you what, tomorrow take a purple gold card and visit him personally to express your gratitude." Aurora was a bit surprised. "Dad, you're so curious about Felix, aren't you coming with me?" Magnus shook his head. "I'd love to meet this legendary Dragon Tamer. But unfortunately, the little princess of the Qinchi Kingdom is coming to Jianghai City to study tomorrow, and I have to go welcome her." The next morning, a richly dressed little girl arrived in Jianghai City, accompanied by her guards. They soon stopped in front of a steamed bun shop. Hearing the commotion outside, Grace immediately stopped what she was doing. "Are you two here for buns?" "Sorry, we're closed today." But the little girl ignored Grace and instead questioned the guard beside her. "Are you sure this is the place? You didn't bring me to a junkyard, did you?" After confirming the location, the guard shoved Grace aside and led the little girl into the shop. Then, with a haughty expression, the little girl declared, "I am a princess, and I'm looking for someone. Is Felix here?" Hearing the commotion, I immediately came downstairs. "Is someone looking for me?" But seeing Grace clutching her injured arm, I was instantly enraged. "Who on earth are you people?" The little princess stepped forward. Are you Felix? I've come specifically to find you. I was a bit confused. Why did you come all this way to find me? The guard beside her introduced them. This is Princess Pearl of the Qinshi Kingdom. I am her guard, Bruce. We've come specifically to give you a chance to make a name for yourself. You've become a dragon master, but you don't have a dragon, which must be quite frustrating, right? As he spoke, Bruce opened the suitcase, revealing a dragon egg inside. He told me that if I agreed to the little princess's request, the egg would be mine. Pearl added smugly that I'd be its master if I agreed to become her servant. I'm the strongest dragon master in history, having contracted a giant dragon, yet this tsundere little princess thinks she can turn me into her personal servant with a single armored dragon egg. I rejected her without hesitation, because I could tell this egg was absolute trash. Unaware, the little princess bragged that it was a reward from an armored dragon's nest and the only dragon egg left in the world. Seeing my silence, Pearl grew even more arrogant. She thought I was just some ignorant fool who had been scared witless by the egg's power. But looking at the armored dragon egg's info, I was speechless. This thing is a species even lower than a wyvern, yet she actually has the nerve to call it a dragon egg. Seeing my look of disgust, Pearl was confused. She wondered if I didn't understand what a dragon egg meant to a dragon master. Then, with a smug look, she told me, a dragon master without a dragon is basically useless. As long as you become my servant, you can become a true dragon master. Doesn't it sound exciting just thinking about it? Hearing this, I burst out laughing on the spot. It is pretty exciting. But I'll pass. Pearl was stunned. She never expected a dragon master to actually resist the temptation of a dragon egg. Then she snapped. You idiot. What are you doing? How could you refuse the chance to become a dragon master who makes history? Facing the little princess's arrogance, I started to get annoyed. I'm not interested in your dragon egg. And I'm even less interested in being your servant. Now, please leave. Seeing how ungrateful I was, Bruce immediately shouted, How dare you? The princess is personally giving you a chance to rise in the world, yet you dare be so disrespectful. I just gave a cold laugh. Stop joking. I won't be anyone's servant. Pearl was furious. A piece of trash dares to look down on me. Bruce. Teach him a lesson. But just then, Grace stepped in front of me. Please, don't be angry. Let's just talk this through, Grace pleaded. But before she could finish, Bruce punched her right in the face. The princess has spoken. Get out of my way, Bruce yelled. Seeing Grace's swollen cheek, I flew into a rage. Before Bruce could attack again, I whipped out my weapon and slashed his cheek. How dare you lay a hand on my dear aunt? You've signed your own death warrant. Feeling my cold, killing intent, Bruce froze in place for a moment. Then Pearl shouted from the side. What are you standing there for? Quickly, teach him a lesson. But before she could even finish, I slapped her right across the face. And you, I don't care which country's princess you are. Shut your noisy mouth and get your trash out of here. Seeing that I actually dared to hit the princess, Bruce attacked me with his weapon. But a second later, I blocked his attack with a wave of my hand. Then I swung with force, instantly knocking the weapon out of his hand. Seeing he couldn't get the upper hand, Bruce immediately turned to comfort Pearl, who was lying on the ground. Princess, are you okay? But Pearl unexpectedly slapped him across the face. You useless waste. Do I look like I'm okay to you? I want you to kill him for me right now. Hearing this, I immediately raised my weapon to defend myself. Meanwhile, Luna, who was fast asleep, was suddenly woken up by a ringing phone. On the other end of the line, Aurora muttered. Strange, why isn't anyone answering? Did I dial the wrong number? Then, using the address from her contacts, she arrived at the entrance of Grace's bun shop. But a second later, the entire shop suddenly exploded. Bruce was sent flying out, landing hard on one knee. Seeing the crowd of onlookers, Pearl immediately snapped. What are you looking at? You lowlives, get lost. She then turned to Bruce. And you're useless. You can't even beat one guy from the Dragon Nation. As she spoke, a purple light emanated from her left eye, and streams of dark purple energy began to swirl around her. Since you're so tough, this princess will deal with you herself. I was shocked. This spoiled little princess actually had a hidden class. Just then, Aurora ran over to me. Felix, what happened? But before she could say another word, Bruce let out a heart-wrenching roar, creating an energy shock so terrifying that we could barely keep our eyes open. Thanks to the system's prompt, I realized that Pearl was actually a level 15 spirit shaman. With the boost from her skill, Bruce transformed into a monster with a human head and a horse's body. Seeing this, Aurora quickly stepped in front of me. Felix, I'll help you. Just then, Bruce charged at us. Seeing this, I quickly pushed Aurora aside. Don't come closer. Please go to the shop and help Grace, I told her. No sooner had I spoken than Bruce attacked again. I quickly jumped back to create some distance. This monster's attack power had become incredibly high thanks to the skill boost. Seeing me retreat, Pearl said smugly. That's it. Killing him is the only way I'll feel satisfied. But right then, Luna crashed through the window and descended from the sky. Under Pearl's shocked gaze, dragon scales slowly appeared on Luna's body, and in the next second, she transformed into her original giant dragon form. Now it's my turn to vent, Luna declared. With a roar, Luna charged at Bruce. In a matter of seconds, Bruce was cut down. Pearl was also sent flying by the shockwave. Luna then grabbed Bruce from the ground and slammed him violently back down. Pearl watched this in utter disbelief. She couldn't believe that a real giant dragon existed in this world, other than the dragon egg of House Jean. I slowly began walking toward Pearl. Little princess, didn't you say you'd only be satisfied once you killed me? Seeing this, Pearl was so terrified by my aura that she lost control of her bladder. Don't come any closer. Do you have any idea what happens to those who offend the Qinshi kingdom? Hearing that, I gave a cold laugh. So, Princess Pearl, are you threatening me? You dare to lay a hand on my family. I don't care if you're the princess of the Qinshi kingdom. Even the king himself couldn't save you now. Meanwhile, Luna had a fireball ready in her mouth. But just as I was about to deal with this arrogant little princess, a voice suddenly echoed from the sky. Felix, stop right now. Magnus was rushing toward us from the horizon, riding a griffin. Seeing him, Luna immediately aimed her fireball at Magnus in the sky. I sliced through Pearl's staff with one blow, then ordered Luna to stop her attack. Once Magnus landed, he was completely shocked by the massive creature before him, never expecting that legendary dragons actually existed. There are many residents around, so you should probably put the dragon away. Since Aurora had helped me quite a bit, I had Luna return to her human form. Magnus then looked at Pearl, who had wet herself in fear. Princess Pearl, are you alright? I went to the airport to pick you up. I didn't expect to find you here. The family driver will be here soon. We'll take you to the hospital first. After Grace explained everything, I learned that Magnus knew this spoiled little princess. That's why Aurora had called her father. But I had a bad feeling about this. This little princess definitely wouldn't let this go. Once everything was settled, Magnus walked over to us. I've got the full story now. But the moment we meet, you hand me a complete mess. You're really something, Felix. Hearing this, Grace immediately started worrying about me. Mr. Magnus, how should we resolve today's situation? Magnus sighed. The House Jean has considerable influence among the nation's top officials. We'll eventually have to give them an explanation. But hearing that, I didn't care at all. So what if her family is powerful? I'm not selling myself out over a single egg. Magnus smiled and patted me on the shoulder. Good lad, you've got guts. I like that about young people. He then told me not to worry too much. He had a way to get me out of this unscathed. But there was one condition, which was that I must, in the great trial, become the top scorer of the southern province. And he would do his best to stall the little princess of House Jean until I finished the great trial. However, Aurora looked worried upon hearing this. After all, the southern province is full of countless powerhouses. Becoming the top scorer is no easy feat. Grace looked worried as well. But I accepted the condition without a second thought. After all, my class is the strongest hidden class, the Dragon Tamer. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Pearl was on the phone, calling for backup to teach me a lesson. Contact the high-ups in the Dragon capital immediately. I want that guy Felix to suffer a miserable death. I didn't expect that simply choosing the nightmare difficulty for the great trial would completely expose the fact that I've tamed a dragon. This is because anyone who has entered the nightmare trial has never returned alive. Yet, I not only one-shot the Black Mane Wolf pack guarding the first floor, but I also broke the record by completing it. After I accepted Magnus' condition that I must become the top scorer of the southern province in the great trial. Early the next morning, I arrived at the great trial grounds of 3rd High School. My arrival quickly caught everyone's attention. My classmates were all surprised. A loser like him should just stay home and sell steamed buns. But facing their gossip, I couldn't be bothered to stoop to their level. Instead, I started thinking about how to use the treasure map system. It turns out that since I hit level 15, I've received mid-level treasure maps for 3 days straight. If I merge them into a single high-level treasure map, it might be a huge help. But just then, a voice interrupted my thoughts. Felix, you're here for the great trial too. Seeing it was my homeroom teacher, I gave a small smile and took the teleportation stone from him. Before I left, he didn't forget to remind me to try and team up with some of the stronger students. It seems that besides Aurora and a few others, no one knows that I've tamed Shadow. That's when Aurora walked over, pulling a girl along. Felix, let me introduce you. This is my best friend, Penny. Thanks to the system's prompt, I learned she was a capable level 14 swordsman. To Penny's surprise, Aurora invited me to join their team. However, I declined her kindness and told her I planned to go solo. Hearing this, Aurora looked disappointed. Given my apparent strength, she probably thought I'd be a burden to anyone I teamed up with. Seeing Aurora act this way, Penny looked completely confused. Penny asked, "Why are you inviting a noob to team up?" But Aurora told her firmly, whether you believe it or not, Felix will definitely be the top student of the Southern Province this year. Soon, as the principal announced the start of the Southern Province Great Trial, I entered the trial realm through the portal. Many candidates had already gathered in the trial area. A moment later, the principal's projection appeared in the sky. Candidates. The portals in the sky are divided into 4 levels: normal, hard, fear, and nightmare. The score multiplier for normal is 0.9. However, the creatures inside are just projections, so they won't cause any fatal injuries. The hard level has a multiplier of 1.0, but the monsters are real. Most students choose this difficulty. The fear level has a multiplier as high as 3.0. The monsters there are much more ferocious, and it is generally not recommended to challenge it alone. Otherwise, your life could be in danger. However, a certain chi practitioner who awakened a hidden combat class chose to challenge the fear difficulty alone. As one of the top 5 experts in the Southern Province, Warren's decision to choose fear difficulty shocked everyone. Meanwhile, inside the Great Trial monitoring room, the principal of First High School let out a triumphant laugh. That kid Warren is the hope of our First High School. Taking the top spot is practically guaranteed. However, the principal of Third High School couldn't help but sigh. If I had awakened a different hidden class, First High School wouldn't dare be so arrogant. But just then, Magnus suddenly spoke up. Principals, as for who will take first place, I'm actually betting on Third High School's Dragon Tamer me. Hearing this, Mabel and the 2 principals thought he was joking. Mabel, Warren from our school is already on the 4th floor of the fear level, while I still haven't even entered the Sky Ladder Tower. Could it be that I'm forfeiting the exam? However, the principal of Third High School was shocked to discover that I wasn't forfeiting, but was instead waiting for the highest difficulty portal. The Nightmare difficulty, with a score multiplier as high as 9.9 times. It's worth noting that no one has ever fully cleared the Nightmare rank. The person who tried it met a gruesome end, getting torn apart by the ferocious beasts. Thinking of this, the principal of Third High School looked completely hopeless. The principal of First High School also remarked that Third High School was just messing around, and that this Dragon Tamer was definitely dead. But Magnus remained confident, telling them not to jump to conclusions too early. Seeing this, the principal of Third High School looked bewildered, wondering why Magnus had so much faith in me. Could it be that I... Meanwhile, with the help of the portal, I successfully arrived at the 1st floor of the Nightmare Trial. I quickly drew the dragon scale sword. Soon, 10 black-maned wolves emerged from the black mist. The moment they saw me, the pack launched an attack. Without hesitation, I used the Dragon Fang Strike. As a blur of speed flashed by, I instantly killed all 10 black-maned wolves. The system soon notified me that I had passed the 1st floor, earning 990 points. Seeing this, Principal Arthur suddenly stood up. Holy crap, he killed 10 black-maned wolves in one hit. This Felix is ridiculously strong. At that moment, Principal Silas finally confirmed his suspicion. He was certain that Felix had found the legendary dragon and become a true Dragon Tamer. Just then, a man in a purple suit walked into the monitoring room. Excuse me, principals. I am Quentin, the special envoy from the Dragon Capital. Where is the Dragon Tamer, Felix? I need to take him back for investigation. Meanwhile, back at the Sky Ladder Tower, I finally found the location from the advanced treasure map. I didn't expect the treasure to be inside the Sky Ladder Tower. I soon obtained a skill book that could accelerate growth, which made me quite happy, since Luna's leveling progress had been way too slow. This skill book is a total lifesaver. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, Quentin looked at the screens and spoke slowly. Principal Silas, Principal Arthur, since Felix is a student of your school, you need to terminate his trial immediately and teleport him here. Hearing this, Principal Arthur was quite indignant. Special Envoy, no matter how urgent the matter is, we should wait until the student's grade exam is over. As the principal of Third High School, I can handle this on his behalf. Handle it on his behalf. You can't take his punishment for him. Just then, Magnus walked up behind Quentin. Quentin, for the sake of our old friendship, let's step aside and talk. But Quentin pushed his hand away. Mr. Magnus, please do not interfere with my mission, and stop trying to act close with me. I don't know why you're favoring that Dragon Tamer, but let me warn you, do not get involved in this matter again. Otherwise, House Jean and the high-ranking officials of Dragon Capital will be displeased. Then he turned to look at Principal Silas. Now, bring Felix here immediately. Unexpectedly, Magnus spoke up from behind in a cold voice. No one is taking Felix away today. Once Felix's secret is revealed, House Jean and the high-ranking officials will no longer be important. Hearing this, Quentin immediately became enraged. Stop talking nonsense. What secret could there possibly be? If you keep obstructing my mission, don't blame me for ignoring our past friendship. But Magnus grabbed his hand. Even if I'm accused of insubordination this time, I'll accept it. Felix's secret absolutely cannot be leaked. Hearing this, Quentin's veins popped in anger. I'll report everything you've done to the high-ranking officials in the Dragon Capital. At this moment, Principal Arthur stepped in to play peacemaker. Both of you, please calm down. No matter what, we can't let this affect the great trial. Meanwhile, Quentin was curious why Magnus would go to such lengths for Felix. Magnus only smiled. Felix is someone who can make both the Dragon Capital officials and House Jean panic. Aren't you curious about his secret? Hearing this, Quentin suddenly looked at the monitor. This Felix actually chose nightmare difficulty. Meanwhile, at the Sky Ladder Tower, I soon arrived at the gate of the second floor. I originally wanted to see how many floors I could clear using only my own abilities. But now that I have this experience-boosting passive, I might as well summon Luna early to soak up some experience. The next second, I summoned a massive dragon. Seeing this, Quentin's face was filled with shock. What? It's actually a legendary dragon. Magnus just smiled. Even though he had seen it once before, seeing it again was still shocking. Magnus told them that they now knew my secret. He explained that I was the only Dragon Tamer in history to actually possess a dragon. A true Dragon Tamer in every sense of the word. Principal Arthur was also shocked by this scene. He found it unbelievable that I had actually succeeded in taming a giant dragon. With Luna's combat power boosting me, I quickly swept through the entire second floor. My Sky Ladder score soared to first place. I led the second place person by more than double. Then, I continued my relentless sweep. In less than half an hour, I had already reached the 13th floor. Seeing this, Principal Arthur's expression suddenly became serious. He told them not to just focus on the dragon. He believed my attributes had already exceeded 100 by now. According to him, I could easily rank first in Shanghai City even without summoning the dragon. Magnus smiled and looked at Quentin. Do you still want to take Felix to the higher-ups? Magnus said he planned to send the video of my great trial to the teachers, ensuring I would have nothing to do with House Jean from then on. Hearing this, Quentin looked completely shocked. Teacher, do you mean? That's right, the Marquis of the North. Justin. Meanwhile, at the Sky Ladder Tower, I fought my way up to the 20th floor. The monsters on this floor were priests who could cast dark curses. I didn't waste any time, and just ordered Luna to use her ultimate move. As Luna opened her mouth wide, a powerful blast of lava flame instantly shot forward. In the blink of an eye, every monster on the floor was turned to ash by the heat wave. At that moment, Luna reached level 11, and I even rose to level 15. I looked at Luna with a smile and said, let's flatten this Sky Ladder Tower together. And then it happened. My little dragon girl evolved once again, unlocking the invincible Shadow's World Eater form. With just one hit, she easily crushed the level 20 dungeon boss. The principals watching this were so terrified they almost wet their pants. They never expected that my supposedly trashiest class could actually summon a giant dragon. As it turned out, just now, by summoning Luna and clearing the trial, we leveled up together. Aurora was terrified as my score surged, firmly securing the top of the trial rankings by a huge margin. Meanwhile, on the other side, Warren, who was a Qigong master. Warren had also cleared the 50th floor of the Fear Trial. Panting, he looked down at the fallen dungeon boss. This year's great trial is insane. A monster like this should be on the 70th floor, not the 50th. Now, the only person who can challenge me for first place is Aurora. But since she's in a team, her points will be at least half of mine. The top spot in the southern province is definitely mine. He then shouted proudly toward the sky. Principals, you've all seen my performance, right? Now, contact the heads of the 10 great academies and get ready to admit me. However, the principals in the monitoring room were entirely focused on me. Principal Arthur murmured. The 50th floor of the Sky Ladder Tower is the dividing line for every exam. Even the top students of the southern province have stumbled here. Even if Felix can pass, it'll likely take him quite a while. Meanwhile, Luna and I fought our way to the 50th floor of the Nightmare Trial. I suddenly noticed that after Luna reached level 11, she unlocked a new skill, Form Transformation. Earth Rend, Fear Roar, besides the Wormling and Dragon Girl forms. In the original Great Dragon form. She now also has the World Eater form. But before I could study it further, the entire dungeon suddenly began to shake violently. A moment later, 3 massive mountain giants suddenly burst from the ground. They possessed powerful skills like Amethyst Rock and were immune to armor penetration. Seeing this, Principal Arthur gasped. 3 nightmare bosses had appeared. This would surely slow down my progress in climbing the Sky Ladder Tower. Meanwhile, the principal of the second high school looked at the leaderboard. With 25,750 points, I was firmly in first place in Shanghai City. It wouldn't even be impossible for me to take the top spot in the southern province. Why isn't such a promising student from my school? Just then, one of the mountain giants suddenly roared, and a moment later, it swung its giant fist at me. Seeing this, Luna immediately swung her dragon claws to meet it. I gave a cold laugh. Luna, let me see your World Eater form. Hearing this, Luna immediately turned into a ball of flames and broke through the mountain giant's attack. Then she roared toward the sky, and the flames gradually faded from around her. Before long, Luna's strongest combat form, the World Eater form, appeared before my eyes. Although my mental power was weakened, my strength increased manifold, unlocking new skills, Earth Shatter and World-Ending Roar. The people watching the monitors were shocked. My dragon could change into a new combat form, and its sheer, imposing presence was enough to make them shudder. Just then, a mountain giant launched a surprise attack on me. I quickly stepped aside to create some distance. Then I looked at Luna and commanded her to use Giant Crocodile Assault. Luna opened her massive maw and instantly tore the mountain giant apart. This scene once again shocked Principal Arthur. Holy crap, a level 20 boss was just crushed like that. Principal Silas also looked serious. After all, the mountain giant's defense was over 2,000 points. Before they could process this, another mountain giant reached out for me. At the critical moment, Luna pulled me out of danger, then instantly shattered the giant with a dragon claw. Magnus looked at Quentin. Now you know why I stopped you, right? Quentin could only stare blankly at the screen. Right then, a purple light flashed on the forehead of the last mountain giant, as it prepared to launch a fatal blow. Unexpectedly, Luna suddenly unleashed her world-ending roar. The terrifying sound waves instantly shook the mountain giant, making its body crackle. Then, Luna slammed her palm hard against the ground. The shockwave from the shattering earth dealt massive damage to all targets and had a chance to send them plummeting into an abyssal rift. As the mountain giant fell into the abyss, it vanished without a trace. Luna and I leveled up once again. It seems choosing Nightmare difficulty was definitely the right call. After dealing with the 3 bosses, the entrance to the 51st floor appeared before us. Seeing this, Magnus said to the principals, "It seems you were all wrong. This 50th floor dividing line was no challenge for Felix at all." Principal Silas then asked Quentin, "Special Envoy Quentin, you've seen a lot. I wonder if you can tell just how terrifyingly high this dragon's strength attribute has grown after its transformation." Hearing this, Quentin rubbed his chin and said slowly, "I've seen some big shots in the dragon capital in action. Comparing the power, the strength attribute of this dragon in its transformed state is at least 2,500 points." As soon as he said this, Principal Arthur immediately broke into a cold sweat. Holy crap, that high? Then aren't we just tiny pebbles in front of this dragon? He then let out a sigh. Since Felix has already passed floor 50, the X+1 mode will gradually become more apparent. Hearing this, Magnus was a bit confused. What is X+1? Principal Arthur slowly explained. The X+1 mode was established by the scholars who first designed the trial tower. Once a candidate passes floor 50, after clearing X number of ordinary monster floors, they will inevitably encounter a boss floor. This makes the trial's difficulty more like a real secret realm, meaning candidates are at risk of death at any moment. In the Nightmare difficulty Sky Ladder Tower, whether it's X or 1, the monsters are all replaced by Nightmare difficulty bosses. There will be more than one boss, and their stats will increase manifold. But Magnus just smiled. For most people, this would be an impossible challenge, but look at Felix. He doesn't seem to care about difficulty at all. Because by now, I've already bulldozed my way through to the 70th floor of the Sky Ladder Tower. Luna and I have also been constantly leveling up, reaching level 9. I could clearly feel that after floor 50, the difficulty of the Sky Ladder Tower increased manifold. But with Luna's World Eater form, I didn't even need to think of a strategy to clear it. After a short rest, I wiped the sweat from my face. Luna, let's go. Let's head to the next floor. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, Principal Silas looked grave. He hadn't expected the legendary Dragon Master to be so terrifying. In just 10 minutes, I had already fought my way to the 70th floor of the Sky Ladder Tower. This year's Sky Ladder Tower was designed to be the most difficult one in history. The principal of First High School even believed that with this level of difficulty, it would be impossible for anyone to pass the 80th floor. At the same time, thanks to the seamless coordination between Luna and me, we cleared the 76th floor at lightning speed. In less than 2.5 minutes, we completely dominated our way up to the 83rd floor. Seeing this, Principal Arthur murmured, "In the past, many geniuses pushed themselves to their absolute limits for the rewards, only to exhaust themselves and die during the great trial." Beside him, Magnus nodded. It makes sense. Once you've cleared 70 or 80 floors, you're just one step away from the final grand prize. No one would just give up and leave. Principal Silas then pointed to the leaderboard. With Felix's current score of 39,200 points, he might be the first candidate in a century, perhaps since Mabel, to clear 100 floors. But the principal of First High School disagreed. Although the bosses of each floor in the Sky Ladder Tower aren't as strong as the originals. But don't forget, the difficulty of the 99th floor is incredibly high. However, before he could finish, a teacher nearby suddenly exclaimed, "Look, Felix has already reached the 99th floor." I walked calmly down the corridor of the 99th floor. At the end of the path stood a massive iron throne. Four headless knights stood guard around the throne. As the candles on both sides of the corridor ignited with eerie blue flames. Blue flames began to emerge from the necks of the four headless knights. Then, their status panels appeared before my eyes. World Ender Executioner Axe Knights. They lock onto a target, and if that target's health drops below 5%, they execute them instantly. They also deal lightning damage and share their health and defense, making their stats far exceed all the previous bosses combined. Seeing this, I immediately took a combat stance. All secret realms are based on real historical events, and the reputation of this broken kingdom is particularly legendary. But before I could think further, one of the headless knights suddenly went wild. He raised his giant axe and swung a World Ender Execution at me. The World Ender Execution instantly kills any target with less than 75% health. Seeing this, I quickly retreated to get out of his attack range. Since these four headless knights share their skills, I had to wipe them all out in one go. With that thought, I charged forward with my Black Dragon Sword. The headless knight launched a world-ending piercing attack at me, which deals an additional 400% damage if it hits. While blocking the incoming attack with my Ink Dragon Sword, I dashed above the headless knight's head. Then I sliced the headless knight in half with a single blow. But to my surprise, the headless knight recovered instantly before my very eyes. It then triggered its world-ending counterattack passive and swung its great sword to slash at me. I quickly raised my Ink Dragon Sword, barely blocking the attack. Then I shouted, "Luna now." In the next second, Luna, in her World Eater form, instantly stomped the headless knight into the floor. The entire castle was blown apart by Luna's massive body. Seeing this, I couldn't help but praise her. "Great job, Luna." But just then, another headless knight launched a lethal charge at me. Its twin blades were imbued with the power of lightning. I quickly raised my Ink Dragon Sword to intercept the attack. At the same time, the other two headless knights took the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. As their attacks landed, the floor beneath me instantly shattered. I leaped high to escape their attack range. Realizing I couldn't keep wasting time, I had to reach the 100th floor as quickly as possible. I opened my hand and told Luna to prepare her ultimate move. Hearing this, Luna immediately opened her mouth and charged up a massive lava fireball. As the lava flame crashed down, the three headless knights were instantly consumed by the sea of fire. I was absolutely shocked. My little dragon girl had actually unlocked the incredibly destructive World Eater form. Not only did she one-shot the Guardian Knights of the 100th floor, but she also left the various principals utterly stunned. Once Luna's lava flame completely incinerated the headless knights, we easily cleared the 99th floor of the Sky Ladder Tower. Shadow's level rose to 5, Luna's level reached 15, and she gained a new skill for the World Eater form called Cataclysm. My own level also reached 20. Seeing this, the principal of First High School stood up abruptly, wondering if the gates to the final stage of the Nightmare rank were about to open. Magnus turned to him and replied, "It seems we're about to witness history in the making today." Principal Silas also looked grave, deep in thought. After all, no one in history had ever reached the 100th floor of the Nightmare rank trial. Meanwhile, I simply pulled the sword from the throne. Then, the sword in my hand began to vanish, and the space around me shifted abruptly. A moment later, Luna and I were teleported to the 100th floor of the Nightmare trial. This was the complete Broken Kingdom secret realm. The true master of this realm is the level 60 world-ending emperor. Just by sitting there, he radiated a powerful killing intent. Beneath his throne stood a countless army of the undead. Facing this, I didn't panic. Instead, I calmly checked the Cataclysm skill Luna had just acquired in her Destruction Dragon form. After a brief analysis, I realized it was a wide area attack skill, which was a godsend for our current situation. I pointed my sword toward the throne and commanded, "Luna, let them witness your Destruction Dragon form." With an earth-shaking roar echoing through the air. A moment later, Luna was enveloped in a violent surge of flames. Although her raw power was reduced, her mental strength increased manifold. This meant Luna could cast magic attacks repeatedly, and she even unlocked two new skills, All-Consuming Flame and Lava Burst. Watching this, the two principals were shocked. They hadn't expected the dragon to be able to change forms. Just how many trump cards is this kid Felix hiding? Meanwhile, the World Ender Emperor raised his long sword and shouted, "My undead army, fight for your king." Facing the oncoming undead army, I didn't waste any words and charged straight in. Luna was also ready to take on the entire undead army. But with so many undead, I found it hard to handle them all at once. I quickly shouted, "Luna now." Hearing this, Luna immediately activated her skill, Great Cataclysm. The ground beneath the undead soldiers suddenly split open with several cracks. Then, the entire ground gave way, and the undead army was ruthlessly harvested by Luna like a swarm of ants. Meanwhile, the three principals in the monitoring room were completely speechless with shock. To think a single student could possess such power, it was simply unbelievable. At the same time, I rushed toward the throne, preparing to take down the final boss in one go. Unexpectedly, several guardian knights suddenly appeared above me. As their fierce attacks rained down, I hurriedly dodged. Seeing this, I called out to Luna again. "Luna, come protect me." With a roar toward the sky, the aura of flames erupting around her instantly shattered the guardian knights. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, Magnus looked solemn. Could it be that even the trial of the final floor of the nightmare rank isn't enough to reveal Felix's true strength? On the other hand, Principal Arthur looked at my score on the leaderboard and sighed. Could he really break 1,000,000 points and claim the final reward of the great trial? Hearing this, Principal Silas agreed. Keep in mind, this year's trial is the hardest one yet. The rewards will definitely be generous. At the very least, there will be 3 rare quality items. Meanwhile, I slowly walked toward the throne. All the small fry have been cleared out. Now, it's time for you, the king, to appear. I cleared it. I actually cleared it. Facing the World Eater Emperor, who was far above my level, Luna and I worked in perfect harmony to successfully take him down. Not only did I break the record of 1,000,000 points, but I also cleared the 100th floor of the Nightmare difficulty trial without a single scratch. It turns out that after Luna completely dealt with the 4 Guardian Knights, I gripped the Dragon Scale sword and slowly walked toward the final boss. Seeing his undead army completely wiped out, the World Eater Emperor charged at me in a rage, wielding his weapon. Seeing this, I quickly told Luna to charge up her skill. Meanwhile, I quickly manifested Dragon Claws. Then, Luna timed it perfectly and unleashed her skill, all-consuming blaze. The violent fire tornado sent the World Ender Emperor flying back several meters. But before he could catch his breath, he realized his strength was being mysteriously weakened. The Aura of Sorrow had taken effect. It turned out I had activated the Aura's exclusive skill. It could inflict negative effects on the target, such as corpse poison, bleeding, and stunning. I immediately shouted to Luna. "Luna, activate the second stage of all-consuming blaze." This caused the World Ender Emperor to be engulfed in a violent explosion. Before he could react, I flashed right in front of him. In an instant, my black dragon scale sword pierced straight through the World Ender Emperor's chest. The sheer force pinned him firmly against the wall. After the battle ended, my level increased to 22. Luna also reached level 17. Then I said that once we cleared the great trial, we'd go home and eat the buns Grace makes. Beside me, Luna let out a happy howl. But just then, the final golden treasure chest appeared. The first item was a rare grade skill, Ice Dragon King's Fury. It can release a blast of cold air within a certain range. While dealing damage, it also applies slow and freeze effects. Next was another rare grade item, the Spirit Wind Ring. It can increase the wearer's agility by 35%. Finally, there was a legendary grade Flame Frost Cloak. It provides 30% damage reduction against ice and fire attacks. It also increases ice and fire damage for both the wearer and their pets by 30%. After collecting all these rewards, I put Luna in my storage space to rest. Then, I stepped alone into the teleportation array to leave the great trial. When Principal Silas saw me emerge, he said excitedly, "Felix, you are truly the pride of our school. Your photo will be displayed on our school's wall of fame forever." Magnus also walked over with a smile. "Your performance in the great trial has once again changed my perception of you." "Well, Uncle Magnus, I've met the conditions you set. That spoiled little princess won't come looking for trouble now, will she?" Hearing this, Magnus chuckled. "Of course not. My teacher is not someone the kingdom can afford to provoke. But for now, you should think about which academy you want to choose." Meanwhile, in the far north of the Dragon Nation, the battle between Luna and me was being watched by an old man. He was the teacher Magnus had mentioned, the Marquis of the North, Julian. Then, a knock sounded at the door. It was one of his subordinates coming to report the evidence from the investigation. He learned that Lord Rowan and the high-ranking officials of the Dragon capital were maintaining relations between the two nations on the surface, while secretly granting House Jean many privileges. Moreover, Princess Pearl had taken away the Dragon Tamers. I had also received his permission. At that moment, the old man was so furious he crushed the wine bottle in his hand. Immediately stripped that dog, Raymond, of all his positions and power. There is no longer a place for him in the Dragon capital's high command. If he has any objections, tell him to come and talk to me in person. And one more thing, Keep a close eye on which academy this Dragon Master chooses, and make sure he is provided with the best cultivation resources. After all, having such a legendary youth in the Dragon Nation made the North Guardian look forward to my future performance. Meanwhile, Pearl was clearly angry upon learning that the Dragon Master hadn't been captured yet. But her subordinate informed her that there was another Dragon Master in Qingzhou City. Hearing this, Pearl gave a wicked smile. Very well, we'll prepare to meet this Dragon Master immediately. I hope this one is more sensible. The second Dragon Master in the history of the Dragon Nation had finally appeared. But for the sake of an armored dragon egg that even a dog wouldn't want, he had become a servant for that arrogant little princess to use as she pleased. He even claimed he would offer my head to Pearl. It turns out, right after I broke the record with a score of 100, Warren, who had been in the fear trial, walked out of the portal covered in wounds. He was secretly pleased that he had actually made it to the 72nd floor this time. The Southern Province top scorer title will be mine for the taking, and the top 10 academies will definitely fight over me. Thinking this, Warren immediately stepped forward to greet the principal of First High School. He said with total confidence, "Principal, I scored 89,000 in this trial. I must be the top scorer of the Southern Province this time, right?" However, the principal only sighed. "You did very well, and you can easily get into any of the top 10 academies. But while grades are important, you must know your limits. Your injuries are serious, so go get treated." Warren was completely baffled by the principal's words. He wondered if the principal was warning him not to be too proud, and that he should remain humble even if he became the top scorer. So Warren put on a determined expression. The principal was equally confused. 7 days later, it was the day the great trial results were announced. Grace and I were stunned by the scene before us. The entrance to the bun shop was packed with people, who clearly wanted to get on my good side. Just then, Magnus walked over with a smile. "Today is the day the results are posted, and everyone knows you're the top scorer of the Southern Province, Felix." Magnus also brought a 50 million reward from Jianghai City, along with equipment and skill books carefully selected by Principal Arthur, including a rare quality skill book called Blue Dragon King's Roar. It releases a thunder shock forward with a chance to cause paralysis. Next was a bottle of Thunder Potion, which increases lightning skill power and resistance by 20% after use. Then there was a rare quality Azure Wind Armor, which reduces incoming debuffs by 30% when worn. Finally, a pair of legendary quality Blink Feather Boots that allow me to blink to any location within 50 meters, with a cooldown of only 30 seconds. Knowing that the challenges ahead would only get harder, I accepted the equipment without hesitation. Just then, Aurora rushed in looking excited, saying that the principals of the top 10 academies had arrived at her home to take me for an interview. I was quite surprised. The rankings had only just been released, yet the top 10 academies were already here. Magnus smiled and told me that they would all be eager to recruit a talent like me. He then leaned in and whispered that my great trial video and scores were kept secret by the state to prevent another Princess Pearl situation. He also mentioned that the trouble I had with Pearl had already been settled by his teacher. I breathed a sigh of relief, saying it was great and that I would definitely thank his teacher in person when I got the chance. Then, Aurora, blushing, handed me a purple gold card and asked me to accept it. She explained that she had wanted to visit and thank me last time, but Princess Pearl had ruined everything. Seeing me hesitate, Magnus patted my shoulder and said, "You saved Aurora and her team back in Morning Village. This is a token of the House of Qin's gratitude, so please accept it." Since it had come to this, I felt bad refusing any further. Then Aurora quickly grabbed my hand, wanting to take me to her home for an interview. Meanwhile, in the forest outside Qingzhou City, Pearl seriously asked Bruce, "What level is that Dragon Master, Trevor, now?" Upon learning that he and the Armored Dragon had reached levels 19 and 14, Pearl couldn't help but admire the power of a Dragon Master. Before long, they saw Trevor and the Armored Dragon fighting in perfect coordination. Facing an incoming level 30 boss, Trevor leaped high into the air and ordered the Armored Dragon to use its sweep skill. The dragon swung its massive tail, damaging all targets in a fan-shaped area. Meanwhile, Trevor used the opening to charge up a Dragon Spear strike. A second later, a sharp attack instantly pierced through the boss's body. Both he and the Armored Dragon leveled up at that moment. Seeing this, Pearl stepped forward and clapped. "Not bad, not bad. You haven't wasted the dragon egg I gave you." Then she glanced at Bruce behind her. "From now on, your Dragon Spear belongs to Trevor. No problem, right?" Hearing this, Trevor immediately spoke in a subservient tone. "Thank you, Princess. With the Armored Dragon and this Dragon Spear, and with the Princess's buff magic, I'll definitely be able to defeat that Southern Province top scorer, Felix." Hearing my name, Pearl immediately grit her teeth. "Trevor, you must remember the name Felix forever, until you kill him and steal his shadow. I will help you become the strongest Dragon Tamer in history. In the Taichi Kingdom, you'll be second only to the ruler." Hearing this, Trevor quickly agreed. "Please rest assured, Princess. I will definitely bring you the head of that Dragon Tamer, Felix. Pearl gave a very satisfied smile. You're very sensible. Much more so than Felix. I gave him a chance to rise to the top instantly, but he didn't appreciate it. Then she turned to Bruce behind her and said, go find out which academy Felix chose, and arrange for Trevor to get in as well. After saying that, Pearl's expression suddenly darkened. Before long, you will pay the price for everything you've done to me. The two greatest dragon tamers in the history of the Dragon Nation finally met. I didn't expect Trevor to try and attack me the first time we met, but I wasn't about to go easy on him. I planned to summon Luna to completely beat him into submission. It all started after Aurora dragged me to her home to interview for academies. As I was about to enter the drawing room, Aurora shyly tucked her hair behind her ear and asked, Felix, have you decided which academy you want to apply to? Aurora told me, my dad asked me to ask you if we could apply to the same academy, so we can look out for each other. I responded with a smile, of course, no problem. I just haven't decided which one to go to yet. I'll tell you once I'm out of there. Hearing this, Aurora felt a lot of pressure, fearing that the gap between us would only grow wider. With that in mind, Aurora immediately told me that she would definitely apply to the same academy as me. After sensing her sincerity, I gave her a reassuring nod and turned to enter the reception hall. The representatives from the top 10 academies had already been waiting for a while. But just as I was about to introduce myself, a man dressed like a priest stood up. We've all seen the video of your great trial, he said. It was truly thrilling. A woman then asked if I had a preferred academy. The priest glanced at her and scoffed. Is there even a need to ask? Felix will definitely choose our Jiangnan Academy. We offer a 10 million dragon coin annual scholarship and free access to all resources, including potions and secret realms. Hearing this, the woman in the mask replied bluntly, Jiangnan Academy is quite pathetic. How dare you try to recruit the top scorer with such pittance? Student Felix. Our Northern Border Academy offers 20 million dragon coins a year, and we'll give you 20 secret realms from the snow country that aren't open to the public. Before long, the representatives began arguing uncontrollably. Seeing this, I felt completely helpless. Now I'm even more unsure which academy to choose. That's when a purple-haired woman spoke up. This year's national trial slot is selected by Longdu Academy. Felix, I can give this precious slot to you. She was Vera, the representative of Longdu Academy. Everyone was shocked to hear this. To get a slot for the national trial, you have to go through layers of selection, and other countries have already been preparing. How could you give such an important slot to a freshman who just changed classes? You're treating the national trial like a joke. Noticing my confusion, Vera explained the origin of the national trial. The national trial is a super dungeon jointly created by 23 countries. Every 3 years, each country sends one representative under 25 to participate. The contestant must be a newcomer, as national-level experts are not allowed to join. It's said to be a trial the whole world watches, and the rewards are rare treasures. Seeing this, the priest said nervously, Longdu Academy is really going all out to recruit him. Longdu Academy is really going all out with this recruitment. Besides, if you're going to make a promise, it should be for the next class. The current class has less than 6 months before the national trial begins. But Vera ignored all of that. She said as long as I passed the national trial, I could go from being number 1 in the southern province to number 1 in the dragon capital. And Longdu Academy would give me that opportunity. Just then, the system suddenly gave me a second god-level treasure map. The last one led me to Luna, the shadow dragon. Could this one be another dragon egg? It looks like I have to go to Longdu Academy now. Seeing me look hesitant, Vera was about to bring out her final trump card. But I told her directly that I would go to Longdu Academy. However, I needed teacher Vera to do me a small favor. 2.5 days later, Grace and I closed the bun shop and packed our bags to leave. But Grace looked back at the shop, feeling a bit reluctant to leave. I smiled and asked her what there was to be sad about. We have a villa and plenty of savings now. We can live wherever we want. Hearing this, Grace reminisced about how quickly time had flown. She recalled that when we first moved here, I only came up to her waist. As she spoke, Aurora and Penny arrived in a sports car to pick us up. They told me they were now students at Longdu Academy. I was surprised that Penny had applied to Longdu Academy, but it turns out she just wanted to follow Aurora, who had chosen the school for my sake. As for the favor I asked Vera for, it was to help Grace apply for a spot at Longdu Academy, since she is qualified as a hidden class enchanted chef. Overwhelmed with emotion, Grace leaned into my arms with tears in her eyes. She told me that ever since she became a chef, she had dreamed of attending a top academy, and she never expected me to make that dream come true. After comforting her, we set off with Aurora and Penny. We soon arrived at the Magnus family's private airport to head to Longdu Academy for registration. Since it was their first time in the capital of the Dragon Nation, everyone was completely captivated. But a voice behind me caught my attention. It was that spoiled little princess, Pearl. As she stepped out of the car, She didn't forget to mock us, saying the capital of the Dragon Nation was nothing special. The moment we met, Princess Pearl looked at me with utter displeasure. I was surprised to run into her here. She really is like a ghost that won't leave me alone. Beside her, Trevor realized I was the one he was looking for and tried to attack me, but Pearl stopped him. She explained that without Ruan Changfeng from the Dragon Capital high-ups as their backer, they couldn't fight at the front gate, or they would be deported back to the Taichi Kingdom. Facing her provocation, I was preparing to make my move. But Grace pulled on my clothes with a worried look. Just then, Vera's voice from behind stopped us. She looked confused. Do you two not know each other? You're the first and second ranked in the Southern Province. And you're both Dragon Tamers. Longdu Academy calls you the twin stars of the Southern Province. I was shocked to hear this. This white-haired guy was actually Trevor, the second-ranked student in the Southern Province. Just like me, he was a Dragon Tamer. Trevor spoke up with a bit of an attitude. I've heard a lot about you. Felix, the top student of the Southern Province. I finally tamed my second dragon pet. But she wasn't a combat-type dragon like Luna, but rather a support-type healer. After Pearl and I met at the gates of Longdu Academy, to avoid any unnecessary trouble, and because Grace and Aurora were exhausted from the trip, I asked Vera to take us to our quarters to rest. Before long, we arrived at the freshman villa area. Only students in the top 30 of the overall rankings could stay here. Hearing that the villa next door belonged to Trevor, I couldn't help but feel annoyed. That guy sold his dignity to become Pearl's puppet. And I can't believe someone like him is paired with me as one of the twin stars. Then, Aurora suddenly asked, Teacher Vera, Penny and I didn't make the top 30 in the overall rankings for the Great Trial. Does that mean we have to move into the student dorms? But just as she finished speaking, Grace suddenly grabbed my arm and said they could stay here with me. Looking at Grace's coquettish expression, I quickly agreed. Vera said that as long as I didn't mind, Longdu Academy would allow you all to live together. Hearing this, a delighted Grace pulled the two of them along and said, Since we're all living together, it's the perfect chance to build some affection. It'll also make it easier to team up for Secret Realm dungeons later. Feeling a bit awkward, I invited them to stay, using the excuse that the dorm area was too far away, and it would take too much time to find them. Hearing this, the two of them shyly accepted the offer. However, Penny pointed at me with a wary look and said, Living together is one thing, but don't you dare get any funny ideas about Aurora. I'll be watching you. But right then, the system suddenly notified me that I was at the location of a god-tier treasure map. So, I asked Teacher Vera who lived in the neighboring villa. But Vera explained that she was only responsible for the Southern Province, and wasn't very familiar with freshmen from other regions. She only knew that a girl seemed to be living there. To get the dragon egg as quickly as possible, I told Grace and the others to head to the house first, while I went to visit this neighbor. Grace, thinking I had finally grown up, responded immediately. All right. Remember to bring a gift when you go. Soon after, I knocked on the door with some pumpkin cake Grace had made. I hurriedly introduced myself as the top student from the Southern Province. Then, with a smile, I handed her the cake, saying I wanted to get to know her and be friends. The girl, however, didn't say a word. After taking the gift from me, she turned and told me her name was Sienna. Seeing that she had no intention of inviting me in, I quickly made an excuse that I was thirsty and wanted to go inside for a glass of water. I didn't expect her to actually agree to such a lame excuse. Seeing my chance, I rushed straight into the villa. But since it was my first time there and I wasn't familiar with the layout, I not only stumbled into her bedroom, but even accidentally wandered into her bathroom. Luckily, I eventually found the dragon egg I was looking for in a storage room. Just as I put the emerald dragon egg into my storage space, Sienna walked over with 2 glasses of water. So I made an excuse that I had urgent business and had to go home, adding, I'll see you at the freshman orientation tomorrow. Sienna was completely baffled by my behavior. But once she entered her bedroom, she reached a conclusion. Was that guy a pervert? Night fell in the blink of an eye. This emerald dragon egg was in the same state as when I found Luna. So I immediately used the dragon taming technique on it. With the sound of the egg cracking, a dazzling green light instantly filled the room. A second later, a cute little emerald dragon hatched from the shell. When I checked its status panel, I found out that the emerald dragon is a support-type dragon. Its natural assimilation allows it to devour equipment to make its skills and traits its own. It can also double the skill effects of those with a compatible dragon bloodline. It can even use the attribute bonuses from the equipment it devours. During the Great Trial, Luna's mental attribute exceeded 7,000 when she cast Great Cataclysm, thanks to Dragon's inspiration. If I add the Emerald Dragon's doubling effect to that, she'll be practically invincible. But first, there was one more important thing. What should I name this little one? Meanwhile, Luna was mischievously teasing the little guy. Unexpectedly, the Emerald Dragon, who failed to grab the eggshell, bit Luna right on the leg. Seeing this, I quickly picked it up. Since you're all green, how about I call you Flora? That makes you Luna's little sister now. But as soon as I finished speaking, the two dragons started arguing again. It looks like things are going to be very lively at home from now on. A challenge. A challenge. I didn't expect that on the first day of the freshman assessment. The reason was that I caused him to. He lost face in front of the respected principal, little knowing he would pay a heavy price for his actions. It turns out, after I successfully tamed Flora, I was on my way to the freshman assembly the next morning. Aurora told me that life and combat classes were separated, so Grace must have been assigned to a different area for the assembly. Just as I was about to ask where Grace was, I heard a burst of exclamations from the male students. Everyone look! 2 more campus beauty level girls arrived today. I trade my luxury cars and villas just to clear dungeons with beauties like them. Hearing this, Aurora and Penny blushed, wondering if these guys had ever seen a woman before. Before long, we arrived at the assembly's lecture hall. Aurora mentioned that students with hidden classes had to sit in the front row. Penny looked completely exasperated. Why do they have to group the hidden classes together? Now Felix and Aurora can spend every day together. At the same time, I noticed someone eyeing me with pure hostility. I realized it was Warren, the Qigong master who had insisted on soloing the feared difficulty during the great trial. So, I gave him a friendly smile and a greeting. This only made Warren grit his teeth in rage. Felix, if you hadn't stolen my top rank. Otherwise, Warren wondered how he could have lost all face in front of the principal he respected so much. Just then, I noticed Sienna. I gave her an awkward greeting. Hello there. Did you like the pumpkin cake I gave you yesterday? But Sienna remained as cold and distant as ever. Seeing this, Aurora immediately felt a surge of jealousy. I quickly explained that Sienna lived in the villa next to mine. Suddenly, a stern voice ordered everyone to be quiet. The man was Alaric, the vice principal of Longdu Academy. He was also a professor of the magic department in the combat college. He was a third-tier lightning mage, reaching level 78. After welcoming the freshmen on behalf of Longdu Academy, he adjusted his glasses and said he didn't like wasting time with empty words. He announced that the teachers would now distribute identity cards. These cards would serve as everything we needed for identification at Longdu Academy. The cards would store our personal points, which served as the Academy's general currency. Points were required to open the secret realms provided by the Academy or to buy equipment. Our starting points were based on our great trial scores. However, since the difficulty of the trials varied by province, the Academy would divide the score by a difficulty coefficient to determine the points. This ensured that it was fair for everyone. Looking at the 13,000 plus points on my identity card, I figured this was all the funding I'd have at Longdu Academy. The vice principal mentioned that the current points are only temporary, and the freshman assessment in a month will determine them again. Anyone who ranks in the top 30 of the freshman assessment will be eligible to enter the Azure Cloud class and receive many special privileges. Not only can they apply for restricted secret realms, but they can also exchange for specific skills and special equipment, and even have the privilege of moving into the villa district. Hearing this, I was startled. It seems if I want to truly live in this villa, I'll have to take first place in the freshman assessment. While I was thinking, the vice principal announced another shocking piece of news. Any student can challenge a member of the Azure Cloud class to a fight. If the member loses, they must give up their spot, and they cannot refuse any challenge. As the names on the screen stopped scrolling, the vice principal explained that there are currently 30 members in the Azure Cloud class, and these 30 were selected based on the overall rankings of the Great Trial. And the first place was none other than me, the Dragon Master. When my classmates saw me slowly stand up, they immediately began to gossip. They assumed I was just like that traitor Trevor, claiming I must have contracted a powerful demi-dragon species to luckily take the top spot. Of course, the commotion also caught Trevor's attention. But since Pearl didn't know the extent of my strength yet, she decided to observe the situation first before finding a chance for revenge. Fortunately, being the center of attention didn't last long. The freshman assembly had just ended. I suggested we go to the Academy Hall to learn about the various secret realms, so we could explore them together and level up Flora. But suddenly, a voice from behind stopped me. Warren pointed a finger at me. Felix, I challenge you. The vice principal just said that members of the Azure Cloud class cannot refuse a challenge. If you really have the strength of the top scorer, then man up and accept it. His actions immediately caught the attention of Pearl and her group, including Vera and Alaric. Warren was secretly delighted. He figured a Dragon Master whose great trial video and score weren't public must have relied on summoning a bunch of trash dragon seeds to pass the trial. As long as I target him personally, I'll definitely win this fight easily. Then, with a look of contempt, Warren added that he was willing to bet 200 points. I just gave a calm smile. Sure, I accept your challenge. Seeing this, Pearl reminded Trevor, you have to keep a close eye on every move Felix makes. This is the perfect chance to figure out his true strength. Meanwhile, Aurora noticed Penny looking worried and gave her a small smile. Don't worry. Felix definitely won't lose. While we were talking, Warren had already finished charging his skill. The next second, he rushed at me in a rage, shouting, Felix, prepare to die. But with just a slight move, I easily one-shot him. This not only made Pearl marvel at my strength, but it also showed Trevor, who had been so confident about taking my head, that there was still a massive gap between us. It turns out that after Warren challenged me, he immediately launched a luck strike and charged forward. However, just as the powerful attack was about to hit, I vanished from the spot. Shocked, Warren wondered why I could use a second-tier mage's blink skill. Before he could think further, I beckoned him and provoked him. Make your move. Is this really all you've got as a Qigong master? Seeing me look down on him, Warren immediately charged another attack, blasting out several golden light waves. He was confident his signature skill would force me to reveal a weakness. Instead, I zipped through the light waves, appearing right in front of him in less than 2.5 seconds. He quickly activated his defense, believing that unless the strike had 280 strength, it could never break through. But in the next second, his proud protective shield. But I shattered it with a single kick. Until the moment he coughed up blood, Warren couldn't understand why I was so strong. The students were filled with disbelief at this sight. I had easily defeated a Qigong master without even summoning a dragon, as expected of the top-ranked student. Beside them, Pearl questioned Trevor. What are your chances of winning now? Trevor responded with a grim expression. On my own, I probably only have a 30% chance against Felix. But with your buffing skills, Princess, I'd have at least a 70% chance. Then, looking at Warren wailing in pain on the ground, I said, your strength is lacking. I haven't even tried yet, and you're already down. Since the winner is decided, those 200 points of yours now belong to me. When he saw the points on my ID card, Warren couldn't believe his eyes. With over 13,000 points, his score for the Great Trial would be nearly 1.3 million. Thinking of this, he lowered his head in shame. How ridiculous. That I actually thought I could beat Felix. A short while later, Aurora and I arrived at the Secret Realm Hall. Grace immediately ran over to ask if I had been injured in the fight. I calmly told her not to worry. Behind me, Aurora excitedly told Penny, I told you Felix would win. His Dragon Tamer class is the strongest hidden class. While they were talking, I immediately brought up the Secret Realm dungeon I had just looked up, seeing that it was a level 45 fear difficulty Venom Spider Forest. Grace said with a worried look, maybe we should pick a simpler one? A level 45 Secret Realm is too dangerous for everyone right now. Plus, we're still one person short for this dungeon. Just as I was thinking about who to team up with, Aurora patted my shoulder and told me to look behind me. I saw Sienna not far away, also checking the Academy's Secret Realm data, knowing she was ranked second overall. Clearing this realm should be a breeze. I immediately stepped forward to greet her again, but it was easy to tell from her expression that she still had a deep misunderstanding about me searching for dragon eggs at her house. Still, I told her that I wanted to team up. However, after a brief silence, Sienna looked at me with disgust and coldly uttered 2 words. As soon as she spoke, Grace and the others immediately looked at me with suspicion, wondering if I had done something shameful. Seeing this, I quickly explained to Sienna that I was definitely a normal person, and hurried to change the subject. The Venom Spider Forest requires 5 people to enter, which is why I asked her to join our party. As soon as she heard about the Venom Spider Forest, Sienna agreed without a moment's hesitation. Before I could even use my points for entry, Sienna beat me to it, swiped her card, and walked straight through the portal. To my surprise, she actually had over 8,700 points. Her score on the Great Trial must have been over 800,000. She's definitely an opponent not to be underestimated. But for now, the priority is to level up Flora. And just ahead in the forest was our destination. As a hidden class sword master, Sienna finally made her move. With a single strike, she effortlessly insta-killed a level 45 black-scaled python. Meanwhile, my Emerald Dragon hatchling made its first appearance in the Venom Spider Forest. With support abilities comparable to a second-tier priest, it completely redefined everyone's expectations. After we entered the realm, Penny asked why we chose the Venom Spider Forest, and I told her it was because the realm's level is high and the experience is plentiful. That's when Grace pulled out a big bag of cookies and said, since everyone's here to level up, why not try some of my travel cookies? They can increase the eater's experience gain by 20% for 3 hours. Seeing the 3 of them eating with such gusto, Grace looked quite pleased. Grace didn't forget to offer some cookies to Sienna. Sienna replied a bit slowly. Was the pumpkin cake Felix gave me last time also made by you? Grace replied with a smile. As long as you like them, I can make more for you anytime. Aurora added that Grace's cooking was delicious and that they'd both love to have her over at Villa 1. But just then, I noticed some rustling sounds. I quickly warned everyone that something was nearby. A second later, a massive black snake suddenly appeared in front of us. According to the system, this creature was a black-scaled giant python. It possessed two powerful skills, venomous fangs and death coil. But before anyone could react, Penny ignored Aurora's warnings and charged straight at it. Her long sword slammed hard into the python's fangs. Knowing that this monster wasn't something she could handle alone, I immediately waved my hand and told everyone to fight without worry, as I would handle the buffs. Just as Penny thought she was about to see a legendary dragon, the young dragon's cute little howls instantly shattered her fantasy. However, its appearance made Grace and Aurora gasp in surprise. I've never seen a dragon like this before. Could this be a new young dragon Felix has tamed? Meanwhile, Penny, whose attention had been diverted, didn't notice the python's incoming attack. Seeing Penny about to be in danger, I immediately ordered Flora to use her support skill, Emerald Light. Almost at the same time, a green shield suddenly appeared in front of Penny just as the attack hit. But the powerful impact still knocked her back several meters. Seeing this, Aurora was about to heal her, but Penny was surprised to find she hadn't taken any damage. I quickly explained to her, this is one of Flora's skills, Emerald Light. As long as it's active, no one has to worry about debuffs or injuries. The two of them were amazed, not expecting a tiny young dragon to have abilities comparable to a second-tier priest. While we were talking, the black-scaled giant python opened its maw and lunged at Aurora and Penny. Just as I drew the dragon-scale sword to finish it off, a sharp sword light flashed past me at an eerie speed, piercing the python's head in a single strike. Sienna spoke coldly, "Stop wasting time. We've been targeted by the monsters." It wasn't until Sienna's weapon returned to her hand that I realized it was an epic-grade blood-breaking sword, which provides a 30% armor-piercing effect and increases sword-controlling speed by 40%. I knew she was strong, but the attack style of this sword master still left me shocked. But suddenly, Sienna waved her hand and commanded the flying swords to attack. Snapping out of my thoughts, I quickly shouted for Grace to get down. Grace was clearly still dazed and didn't notice the danger behind her at all. Fortunately, Sienna's flying swords knocked away the monster's pincers, allowing me to pull Grace out of the attack range just in time. As the monster emerged, the system notified me that it was a silver armor spider, which is naturally immune to armor penetration. Sienna charged straight at the silver armor spider, and though it immediately counterattacked, she agilely dodged every strike. While the monster was distracted, I joined the battle without hesitation. With my current strength, the silver armor spider was completely defenseless. The moment I killed the monster, Sienna and I both looked ahead warily. We saw a huge number of spiders lying in ambush in the nearby grass. Seeing the sheer number of them, Sienna decisively summoned 2 more weapons and warned me to be careful of their leader, the Black Web Hunter. Just as she finished speaking, I spotted a small figure lurking in the darkness. She's blushing. After I showed off the terrifying power of a dragon master for the first time in the Venom Spider Forest, I actually made the cold and aloof beauty blush with embarrassment. It even made her feel something for me. A sense of security. It turns out, after Sienna and I discovered the Black Web Hunter together, we charged without hesitation into the silver armor spider swarm. When I asked her if her weapons looked unusual, Sienna explained that the swordmaster profession can forge their own weapons, and each weapon levels up along with them starting from level 1. Hearing this, I fell into thought, realizing that the leveling process for swordmasters and dragon masters is quite similar. One levels up their dragon pet, while the other levels up their weapons. Before I could think any further, Sienna used the frost skill of the water chill sword to freeze the silver armor spiders. But another one lurking in the shadows suddenly lunged at her with its mouth wide open. Seeing this, I immediately blocked the attack with the dragon scale sword, while ordering Flora to use Emerald Light. With a 30% attribute boost, Sienna immediately used the Bloodbreak sword's unique skill, Mountain Shaker. Even though the silver armor spiders have a passive that grants armor pierce immunity, its body was instantly shattered at that moment. Seeing this, I couldn't help but marvel at the power of a swordmaster. A swordmaster with 3 coordinating swords is definitely a jack-of-all-trades profession. The Bloodbreak sword has built-in armor penetration. The Water Chill sword provides magical control, and the one in her hand can even increase the attack damage of every sword. However, Grace's exclamation interrupted my thoughts. The 3 of them were already surrounded by silver armor spiders. Sensing something was wrong, I sprinted toward Grace. I told Sienna to hurry and find the Black Web Hunter, promising I'd handle the trouble here quickly. As I spoke, I sliced the silver armor spider in front of me clean in half. Flora waited for the right moment and cast Emerald Light on Grace. Seeing everyone fighting so hard against the monsters, a feeling Sienna had never experienced before suddenly rose in her heart. But while she was dazed, several webs attacked her from behind at high speed. Even though Flora's Emerald Light blocked most of the attacks, Sienna's arms were still left with several scratches. To kill the silver armor spider leader, the Black Web Hunter, As quickly as possible, Sienna was forced to run deeper into the forest. Seeing this, I shouted for her not to go deep into the forest alone. Seeming to sense my anxiety, Aurora told me to chase after Sienna while she continued fighting. She said that with Flora's emerald light buff, the monsters in front of them were nothing to fear. Hearing this, I left Grace in the care of Aurora and Flora and rushed off in the direction Sienna had gone. I soon caught up to her deep in the forest. But the scene before me left me shocked. The black web hunter had not only bound Sienna's weapon tightly with webs, but had also left countless wounds on her body. Realizing Sienna was likely no match for it, I immediately ordered Flora to cast Emerald Light again. My arrival caused Sienna to be distracted for a moment. The black web hunter took the opportunity to launch a web bind. Once hit by this skill, the target will die instantly after 60 seconds. But to Sienna's surprise, I instantly appeared before her. While easily blocking the attack, I reminded her not to let her guard down and to just stay behind me. Then, I manifested Dragon Claws and struck the black web hunter. With the terrifying destructive power of Dragon Fang Strike, I heavily injured it in a single blow. Sienna was absolutely stunned. She couldn't believe my casual strike was just as powerful as her full-power Mountain Shaker attack. Seeing the black web hunter unable to move, I immediately told Sienna to finish it off. Sienna snapped out of it and used her strongest Mountain Shaker skill to kill the black web hunter. Afterward, Flora's level increased to 3. Sienna, however, blushed slightly, wondering why she felt so safe around me. Still, she tried to sound firm, saying, "I never thought the day would come where I'd be treated as the weak one." I disagreed, telling her, "That's not true, Sienna. You're incredibly strong." Just then, Aurora and Penny arrived with Grace. Aurora told me that all the silver armor spiders had been dealt with, and the 3 of them also leveled up several times. Then, with a smile, I said to Sienna, "No matter how strong you are, we will never let a teammate fight alone." Sienna was momentarily stunned. Afterward, under Flora's healing skills, everyone's injuries recovered at a visible speed. At that moment, a smile appeared on Sienna's lips. She felt that having teammates really makes one feel happy. Shortly after, everyone followed the map to the end. Just as Penny wondered why the dungeon boss wasn't visible, Aurora, who was beside me, suddenly cried out. They saw countless eyes staring from the cave beneath their feet. It seemed this was the leader's nest of the venom spider forest. It transformed. And Luna, the black dragon, also made her debut in the venom spider forest. With the invincible and heaven-defying form of the destruction dragon, she once again shattered everyone's perceptions. It turned out that after Aurora and I discovered a bottomless cave, the system prompt revealed that the creature below was the dungeon boss, the screaming spider matriarch. Not only can it spit toxins to cause continuous damage, but it can also increase the all attributes of its spider minions by 15%. Furthermore, its own movement speed is greatly increased within the range of its web. Meanwhile, Aurora kindly warned Grace that since she wasn't a combat class, she should definitely not look down the cliff. But not wanting to hold the team back, Grace still intended to go forward and investigate. The next second, she immediately threw up. I gave an awkward smile, thinking to myself that this must be what they call the harsh reality of society. Then, I heard Penny mention that other teams took up to 4 days to clear this place. Grace immediately panicked, because she had only brought enough food for everyone for a single day. Hearing this, I told everyone that there was no need to refer to previous team strategies. Just as everyone was feeling confused, I gave a grand wave of my hand. "Come forth, Luna." I then ordered her to activate her World Eater form. Accompanied by a loud dragon roar that echoed throughout the area, Luna, wrapped in the power of flames, appeared in midair. Seeing this, Penny let out a cry of surprise, feeling that this fire dragon was the dragon of her dreams. Beside her, Sienna was also shocked by Luna's terrifying aura. Feeling the dangerous aura, the realm boss had no choice but to order all the silver armor spiders to attack. Facing the tide of silver armor spiders, I had Luna release her AoE skill, Cataclysm. Seeing the dragon's overwhelming way of fighting, the others immediately broke into a cold sweat. They exclaimed that the dragon's destructive power was even more terrifying than the legends. To clear out the boss's minions as quickly as possible, I signaled Flora to buff Luna. A dazzling light radiated from Flora's chest as she activated the Emerald Light, the Emerald Dragon lineage to double all skill effects and Dragon's encouragement. In the next instant, Luna's attributes were significantly boosted. Since Luna probably couldn't kill the boss alone, I left Grace under the protection of Aurora and Penny, ordering them to hold the line. Sienna and I then took our combat stances and prepared to head deeper into the cave. After slicing through everything in our path, we successfully reached the bottom of the cave. But the number of silver armor spiders ahead was overwhelming, so I called for Luna to come and cover us. With a whoosh, Luna flew to my side in the blink of an eye, activating the second stage of her Cataclysm skill. With Luna's help, our path forward was completely clear. Sienna remarked that the dragon's damage was truly absurd, saying she felt like she was being melted by the heat wave. I checked to see if Aurora was safe up above, and she told me to stop worrying and just focus on killing the boss. Sienna and I then charged toward the screaming spider matriarch. Just then, the screaming spider matriarch suddenly opened her mouth, but luckily, our senses were sharp enough to react. We barely managed to dodge the purple venom it spat out. I immediately ordered Flora to cast Emerald Light on Sienna, but the screaming spider matriarch gave us no room to breathe. She unleashed her catch-all net skill again, lunging toward me. Reacting instantly, I pulled out the dragon scale sword and shattered the web. However, the remaining webbing still left a cut on my face. Flora saw the blood trickling down. Without a word, she swallowed the blood right out of the air. Realizing Luna's attribute bonuses were about to wear off, I hurriedly told her to unleash her ultimate, all-consuming flame. A violent fire tornado erupted from Luna's side and spread outward. In less than 2.5 seconds, every silver armor spider in the cave was wiped out. Sienna shuddered after witnessing such a disaster-level skill. She believed this dragon had the power to easily destroy an entire city or even a nation. The massive amount of experience also brought Flora to level 5. She even learned a new skill, Emerald Blessing. But that last attack had drained my stamina significantly. Just as I ordered Flora to quickly use a recovery skill, the gem on her chest emitted a dazzling green light. Then, her body began to transform into a human form. Looking at Flora, who now looked like a young girl, I realized this was exactly like what happened with Luna. It seemed Flora had not only gained a new form, but might have even awakened stronger abilities. It was truly shocking. Who would have thought that Flora's first display of her new ability would leave Sienna completely stunned? The moment we killed the boss of the Venom Spider Forest, my 2 dragon pets and I received a comprehensive upgrade. After Flora transformed into a cute little girl, she began charging her new skill, Emerald Blessing. Suddenly, the screaming spider matriarch's pincers lunged at Sienna. Luckily, she reacted quickly and dodged, allowing Flora to seize the moment and cast Emerald Blessing on her. With a wave of her hand, Sienna commanded her weapons, and the 3 flying swords easily pierced through the screaming spider matriarch's abdomen. Sienna was stunned, because she knew her own strength alone wouldn't be enough to pierce the boss's hard shell. She turned to look at Flora, realizing that Emerald Blessing was far more than just a simple strength boost. I also sensed Dragon Chi from Sienna's attack, and it carried Flora's attributes. The screaming spider matriarch then spat a massive amount of venom at Flora and me, but such an attack posed no threat to me anymore. I then ordered Flora to use Emerald Blessing on Luna. A dazzling light emitted from Flora's chest. In an instant, 3 large emerald marks appeared on Luna's head. A second later, the second stage of the all-consuming flame, infused with Dragon Chi, struck the screaming spider matriarch directly. Sienna was shocked once again. She figured the power of Luna's attack must have reached over 10,000 points. The results proved her right. The screaming spider matriarch had lost its ability to fight. Seeing the boss in such a weakened state, I immediately told Sienna and Flora to deliver the finishing blow. But suddenly, I vanished from in front of them, and reappeared directly above the screaming spider matriarch. With a loud bang, the terrifying power of my Dragon Fang strike slammed the screaming spider matriarch into the ground. At the same time, Flora cast Emerald Blessing on Sienna again. With the support of Dragon Chi, Sienna decisively launched her strongest attack. Soon, through our seamless coordination, the screaming spider matriarch was sent to hell without any resistance. After successfully defeating the boss, Luna's level rose to 18. Flora even jumped 2 levels, reaching level 7. My level also broke through to 23. When Sienna asked about my score for the Great Trial, I told her without hesitation. Sienna immediately asked back, "With your strength, you shouldn't have only 1.3 million points, right?" But as I explained that the maximum score for the Nightmare Difficulty Great Trial in the Southern Province was only 1.3 million, Flora suddenly hugged me tightly. It seemed like she was asserting her dominance over Luna. Seeing the harmonious scene of 1 person and 2 dragons, Sienna fell into deep thought. Although her own score in the Great Trial was over 800,000, there was an insurmountable gap in strength between them. Shortly after opening the treasure chest from the secret realm, a huge smile appeared on Penny's face. The equipment inside was practically tailor-made for the warrior class. When Penny and Aurora invited her to join a fixed party, Sienna actually agreed, which was a first for her. To celebrate the formation of the team, Grace prepared a lavish dinner for everyone. During the meal, Sienna suddenly remarked, "I can't believe you actually live with a freak like this. Aren't you afraid?" In the following days, I gradually got used to life at Longdu Academy. I would often lead them to the Venom Spider Forest to level up. This routine continued for over half a month, until 2 days before the freshman assessment, when things finally changed. By then, Flora's level had doubled to level 14. Luna and I each increased by 1 level. As for Penny, she was the happiest every time we cleared a dungeon. Once Penny completes the Venom Spider set, she'll be confident about ranking high in the freshman assessment. Judging by Penny's excited expression, the chest must have dropped the gear piece she was looking for. According to the system, the Venom Spider set is rare quality. Not only can it trap targets in a web for up to a minute, but the webs also apply a poison effect. Grace smiled and told everyone, "Since Penny has her gear, let's head back. After all, the freshman assessment assembly is tomorrow." Everyone immediately agreed with the proposal. But just as I stepped out of the portal, Teacher Vera called me over. She told me that Vice Principal Alaric wanted to speak with me privately about something important. I froze on the spot, wondering why he wanted to see me at such a critical moment right before the assessment. The battle of the twin dragons at Longdu Academy has finally officially begun. Just the sharp aura Sienna and I gave off when we appeared was enough to terrify Pearl and Trevor. They couldn't fathom why the two strongest freshmen would team up. It turns out that after Vera told me Vice Principal Alaric wanted to discuss something important, I followed her to the office, feeling quite puzzled. Along the way, I overheard several students talking. Noticing my confusion, Teacher Vera began to explain. Because of that points bet you had with Warren, the freshmen realized they could earn points from each other through sparring. This has come to be known as the new assessment. When they mentioned 73 Warrens, it was actually a unit of measurement. If we use you and Warren as the combat standard, then you would be 100 Warrens, while Warren himself is only 1 Warren. As she spoke, I saw Warren cleaning up with a look of utter reluctance. Shortly after, I arrived at Vice Principal Alaric's office. From him, I learned that the spot for the national trial he promised me was originally scheduled for 5 months from now in Jinyu City, Taki Nation. However, the host, Taki Nation, suddenly moved the date up to 2 months from now. The reason for all this is Julian Jean, the eldest son of House Jean, who is expected to reach level 60 and the 3rd advancement within a month. In other countries, the national trial usually begins during the 2nd advancement. In that case, the winner would undoubtedly be Julian Jean once he hits the 3rd advancement. Hearing this, I fell into deep thought. It said that the difference between the 3rd and 2nd advancements isn't just about level. The new traits brought by each advancement can greatly increase one's strength. It seems House Jean has played their cards very well. Vice Principal Alaric was quite helpless about this unfair situation. After all, in 2 months, the most I could reach is level 20 and the 2nd advancement. If I fought a group of experts above level 50, I'd likely lose my life. He then patted my shoulder and said solemnly, "This session was specifically designed by House Jean to target other nations. Even so, do you still want to participate in the national trial?" I just gave a calm smile and told Vice Principal Alaric that I wasn't just going to participate, but I was going to take first place and slap House Jean in the face. Hearing this, Alaric looked proud. As expected of the top student of Longdu Academy, "I'll request more resources from the higher-ups to help you increase your strength." He then kindly told me to go back and get some rest to be fully prepared for tomorrow's freshman assessment. Early the next morning at the freshman assessment assembly, after Alaric explained some simple rules, he announced the new requirements for this year. As the requirement for duo battles appeared on the big screen, the students immediately began buzzing with discussion. 2 best friends who were both healers were completely stunned and didn't know what to do. But this news didn't affect me at all. Since Grace isn't a combat class, excluding her, our group could just barely form 2 teams. Noticing the students' dissatisfaction, Alaric simply said, "The preliminary rounds will start this afternoon, and the top 100 teams will be decided by tomorrow night. Any teams interested can sign up with Teacher Vera." Soon after receiving the notice, Sienna came over to Aurora and me. Just then, the 7th-ranked dual swordsman of the Azure Cloud class tried to invite Sienna to team up, but unsurprisingly, she rejected him flat out. When Penny arrived and asked what was going on, Aurora explained awkwardly, "It's because the top-ranked students want to team up with Sienna." But Sienna didn't even give them a glance before casually rejecting them. Meanwhile, inside the Longdu Academy arena, a student was sent flying into the air by the armored dragon sweep skill. Trevor then charged up a dragon spear strike, ending the match in a single blow. Seeing this, Pearl highly praised Trevor, telling him that he only needed a few more wins to enter the top 16. Hearing this, Trevor responded without hesitation, "Princess, our team is currently in 7th place. We'll likely be fighting the top-ranked team next." Upon hearing the word first, Pearl immediately said, "In a few days, my brother Kevin will be visiting me at the academy. As long as you can successfully take first place, I'll introduce you to him then." Just as she finished speaking, a pair of feet entered her field of vision. It was the cold and elegant Sienna, who had just teamed up with me. Seeing this, the 2 of them were completely stunned. No one could understand why I would team up with Sienna. As it turns out, 2.5 hours ago, I suggested a different team, but Aurora politely declined. In her eyes, Only a team consisting of me and Sienna could take first place. Meanwhile, Aurora shouted excitedly from the stands, "Go for it, Felix. First place is definitely yours." Feeling Aurora's support, I immediately said to Sienna, "We're guaranteed first place this time, right?" Hearing this, Sienna simply replied, "Of course. It's starting." The battle of the twin dragons at Longdu Academy had finally begun. But I managed to overpower Trevor and his dragon pet single-handedly, forcing Pearl to use that strange buff skill again, turning the armored dragon into a complete monster. It all started after Sienna and I entered the arena. When Sienna asked me how confident I was in defeating the opposing dragon master, I replied with a smile, "How about a bet? I bet that without summoning Luna, I can still defeat both of them on my own. If I win, you have to tell me everything about the Swordmaster class." Sienna was surprised by my words, but she didn't flatly refuse my proposal. Meanwhile, Pearl and Trevor were ready for battle. As the announcement broadcasted that the assessment had officially begun, Trevor rushed toward me first. In his eyes, if he could defeat me fairly in the arena today, he would become the strongest dragon master in history. With that thought, Trevor thrust his dragon spear straight at me. But to his surprise, I vanished from the spot without a trace. A second later, I suddenly appeared right beneath the armored dragon. At the same time, my dragon blood armor had finished charging. There was a loud bang. A dragon claw imbued with Luna's power instantly shattered the armored dragon's proud fangs. After glancing at Sienna, Trevor realized that I hadn't summoned my own dragon pet, nor did I have any intention of letting my teammate join the fight. He immediately demanded to know why I wasn't fighting at full strength. I just gave a disdainful smile, telling him that I alone was enough to handle two noobs like them. Enraged, Trevor ordered his armored dragon to attack. As the dragon pet lunged at me with its mouth wide open, I leaped into the air and said, "One of your dragon's fangs is broken, and it's triggering my OCD. I'll be a good person and fix your face for you." With that, I unleashed a dragon fang strike and slammed into it. The students in the stands were horrified by the sight. After all, the armored dragon is a member of the dragon race, yet I was crushing it with a mere mortal body. He's an absolute monster. Seeing this, Pearl immediately pointed at Trevor and shouted, "What are you standing there dazed for? Hurry up and take him down for me." Hearing this, Trevor ordered the armored dragon to use its sweep skill again. At the same time, he followed up with a dragon spear strike, attacking me. After all, in his mind, dragon masters don't possess movement skills. He believed that as long as he and his dragon pet attacked together, I would be unable to dodge the combined strike. The next second, the center of the arena was instantly shattered by this powerful force. But soon, my casual voice sounded from behind Trevor. "When will you guys actually make me use my real strength?" Seeing me sitting relaxed on the armored dragon's broken tooth, Sienna, watching from outside, couldn't help but fall into deep thought. She thought to herself that this armored dragon's stats were several times higher than other beasts of the same rank. She didn't expect that I could not only suppress the armored dragon, but also calmly handle the dragon master's attack. But just as Trevor was about to launch another wave of attacks, Pearl suddenly shouted for him to stop. "Felix, you arrogant and lowly peasant. How dare you insult this princess? I'll make you pay double for all these old and new grudges." Then, a purple energy began to surround Pearl. She looked at Trevor with a serious expression and said, "You useless piece of trash. You actually can't handle a dragon master who hasn't even summoned their pet. With such a pathetic performance, how can I possibly recommend you to my brother? You actually think you can go to the Tai Chi Kingdom in this state and dream of becoming the strongest dragon master? Stop daydreaming." With that, Pearl injected this dark energy into the armored dragon's body. This scene reminded me of Bruce. He was the one turned into a monster by Pearl's eerie buff skill. Soon, as the armored dragon's body began to swell, my theory was confirmed. In just 2.5 seconds, the buffed armored dragon let out a deafening roar. She's absolutely terrified. I revealed 2 dragonic magic spells in front of everyone for the first time, which completely terrified the arrogant Princess Pearl. Even her prize guardian knight was one-shot by my newly developed Thunder Dragon Fang Strike. It turned out that after Pearl used her buff skill on the armored dragon, its body expanded more than 100 times its original size. Seeing this, Sienna immediately summoned her twin swords to prepare for battle. However, regarding Sienna's actions, I told her there was no need to step in. I would end this duel quickly on my own. I had already seen this kind of buff, which distorts the body at the cost of immense pain. Pearl believed the armored dragon could now compete with me, so she ordered Trevor to finish me off quickly. She even arrogantly claimed she would take my Black Dragon King, Luna, and leave me as the pathetic dragon master the world laughs at. Watching the mutant armored dragon charge at me, I didn't feel a single ripple of emotion. Then, with a wave of my hand, I unleashed my exclusive dragonic magic, Wrath of the Ice Dragon King. As a phantom of a giant dragon appeared behind me, The mutant armored dragon was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture by a terrifying frost aura. Even Pearl and Trevor, standing nearby, felt the temperature plummet in that instant. Then, with a look of reluctance, I told Pearl, although your sinister witchcraft can make the Earth Dragon's stats far higher than mine, if that's all you've got, you'll never be a threat to me. Since you want to steal my Black Dragon, let's see if you actually have the skill to do it. The moment I finished speaking, I slashed my dragon scale sword toward Pearl's face. But Trevor suddenly appeared and struggled to block the attack for her. At the same time, he ordered the armored Earth Dragon to use Dragon Breath on me. However, just as energy began to gather in the dragon's mouth, I sensed the danger and vanished. When I reappeared, I was silently hovering right above the armored Earth Dragon. Knowing that Trevor's dragon had incredible defense, I used the dragonic magic Roar of the Blue Dragon King for its paralysis effect. With a loud boom, a powerful bolt of lightning struck the armored Earth Dragon directly. After taking the hit, the dragon naturally collapsed to the ground. Everyone watching was horrified. They exclaimed that my fighting style was far too violent. First, I fought a dragon with my bare body. And now, I was bombarding it with dragonic magic. It looked like Pearl and her group's winning streak was about to end. Seeing this, Trevor couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. He wondered why, despite both being the hidden class of Dragon Tamer, there was such a massive gap in their strength. It wasn't until he heard the sound of me stepping on pebbles that his train of thought was interrupted. Then, I questioned him on why he didn't use any skills other than Dragon Spear Strike. Although Dragon Spear Strike and Dragon Fang Strike are essentially the same move, why hadn't he used Dragon Fang Strike or Dragon's Inspiration? Hearing this, Trevor was completely shaken. After all, as a Dragon Tamer, he had never heard of those two skills. Seeing the look of shock on Trevor's face, I came to a conclusion. His contracted Earth Dragon likely hadn't unlocked all of its skills. So, I kindly advised him to give up the match and stop selling his dignity by acting as Pearl's puppet. Unexpectedly, Trevor flew into a rage upon hearing this. In his eyes, I was not only blocking his path to becoming the strongest Dragon Tamer, but I was also a sinister little man using my words to drive a wedge between them. Trevor then turned to Pearl behind him and asked her to cast a buffing skill on him. Hearing this, Pearl gave a cold sneer. You said it. Don't forget, this is your last chance. With that, she cast a strange witch's curse on Trevor. At that moment, his body began to swell rapidly, and two strange arms sprouted from him. Seeing this, Pearl shouted at Trevor again. Now go and kill that lowlife, Felix. I want to make sure he never sees tomorrow's sun. Immediately after, Trevor attacked me with a Dragon Spear Strike. To put him out of his misery, I had no choice but to use my full strength to defeat him completely. A second later, using the passive skill of Spirit Wind Whisper, I turned into a blur. Before Trevor could even react, my fully charged Thunder Dragon Fang Strike pierced straight through his body. Seeing Trevor defeated in a single move, Pearl was so terrified she lost control of her bladder, feeling that she wouldn't escape her fate today either. It's finally starting. My trip to the Wyvern Cemetery with Sienna has officially begun. However, the realm manager was skeptical of our strength, until he saw me take down a level 50 Azure Wing Dragon Eagle in one hit. Only then did he realize we weren't as simple as he thought. It turns out, after Trevor was defeated by my Thunder Dragon Fang Strike in one move, Pearl watched as I stepped closer and closer to her, feeling that she was doomed. So, she immediately threatened me, claiming her brother, Justin, was the new #1 in the Tai Chi Kingdom, and that if I dared to touch her, I'd definitely pay for it. But just as she finished speaking, I didn't hesitate to punch Pearl right in her little face. Then, I turned around and said, even if your brother were here today, I'd still hit you. Seeing this, the crowd immediately started whispering, saying that I was being too harsh and that I could actually bring myself to hit such a cute girl. Hearing this, I just left the scene without looking back. In the control room, Alaric saw that the winner was decided and immediately announced that Sienna and I had won the match. He then had Vera take me to the office again, while telling her to keep preparing the team matchmaking for the next round. Soon, I arrived at the office, not knowing why, only to learn that because of the fighting style I showed during the match, there was absolutely no need for me to participate in the freshman assessment. Considering that the national trial was about to begin, my current focus should be to increase my strength and complete my second-class advancement as quickly as possible. Although it was a pity to miss the freshman assessment, Vice Principal Alaric was right. The national trial was the current priority. Then, Alaric said with a smile, you actually know the rare dragonic magic. It's truly shocking. This is a high-level secret realm that Longdu Academy found through the Secret Realm Hunter Guild. You can choose anyone from here. Looking at the secret realm data in front of me, I couldn't help but fall into thought. I thought to myself that realm hunters and material hunters are pretty much the same. The only difference is that realm hunters get paid for discovering various entrances. Alaric told me that if I picked a realm I liked, the school would bid for it from the Realm Hunters Guild. Hearing this, I awkwardly remarked that the starting bid here was way too high. To my surprise, Alaric confidently pushed up his glasses and said, Longdu Academy never slacks when it comes to the national trial. And once we promise you resources, we'll do whatever it takes to win the bid. That's when I found a realm in the files that caught my eye. Since Vice Principal Alaric put it that way, I chose the Wyvern Cemetery realm, which was S5 plus rank and nightmare difficulty. After all, while waiting in the lounge to fight Pearl and the others, I had synthesized my low-level treasure maps right in front of Sienna, eventually obtaining a god-level treasure map. The location of the dragon egg marked on that map was exactly the Wyvern Cemetery. I hadn't heard of the place at the time and planned to ask a teacher about it later, but I didn't expect to come across it today. The next morning, during the semi-finals of the freshman assessment, Vera was just about to announce that my team, consisting of me and Sienna, would face the third-ranked team of Julian and Jade. Alaric suddenly interrupted her. He then solemnly announced that my team, with Sienna, would be withdrawing from the competition today. As for Jasper and Crystal's team, they would be matched with new opponents. The crowd was deeply disappointed upon hearing this news. They had come today specifically to watch my match. Penny was quite annoyed by the students' whispers. Seeing this, Aurora quickly comforted her. Don't mind them, she said. Felix and Sienna should have already entered the secret realm by now. Meanwhile, outside the Wyvern Cemetery in the Giantwood Forest, Sienna wasn't upset about being unable to continue the freshman assessment. In her view, the school had already promised to reserve their spots in the Azure Cloud class and give them an extra 10,000 points. But she was most excited about the chance to enter a rare secret realm and level up. Suddenly, a voice from the trees caught our attention. A man leaped down, introducing himself as Remy from the Secret Realm Hunters Guild. When I asked if he was the one leading us to the entrance of the Wyvern Cemetery, Remy ignored me and looked at the badge on my chest, only signaling us to follow him after confirming we were from Longdu Academy. Along the way, he curiously asked about Sienna's and my levels. When he heard the highest was only level 25, Remy's jaw practically hit the floor. Are you two kidding me? He exclaimed. Don't you know this is a level 55 nightmare rank secret realm? Just as he was about to make a call to. Just as he was about to call the academy to confirm if there was a mistake. A tree behind us was suddenly sliced in half by some force. Luckily, the three of us reacted in time, so we weren't hit by the shockwave of the falling tree. Sensing a dangerous presence approaching, I immediately waved my hand and unleashed the Blue Dragon King's roar. Violent purple lightning instantly struck the attacker. Seeing a level 50 Azure-winged Dragon Eagle get one shot by me, Remy was completely stunned. He asked again if I was really only level 25. I could only respond with a smile. I have no reason to lie to you. So just hurry up and take us to the entrance of the secret realm. We're in. Sienna and I finally entered the nightmare rank Wyvern Cemetery. But just as I was thinking about my next move, a massive army of wyverns suddenly charged at us. What I didn't expect, however, was that a 100-meter-long skeletal dragon was hiding among them. Remy then signaled for Sienna and me to follow him. Shortly after, under Remy's lead, we successfully reached the entrance of the Wyvern Cemetery. Seeing that his task was complete, Remy prepared to leave. Before leaving, he didn't forget to add, until we meet again. But I suddenly stopped him, telling him that since we're so destined to meet, could he help me keep an ear out for the locations of future secret realms? When I mentioned the location, Remy was stunned at first, but he quickly recovered and asked, You kid, are you trying to buy the location of a secret realm from me? Seeing his hesitation, I added, Your Secret Realm Hunter Guild might not allow private trades of secret realm info, but just sharing a location shouldn't be a violation, right? Hearing this, Remy timidly reached out and said, One location for 100,000 dragon coins. That's a friendship price just for you. To his surprise, I agreed without hesitation. He couldn't help but wonder if everyone at Longdu Academy was this rich. After I entered the Wyvern Cemetery, I saw that Sienna had already been waiting for me at the exit. However, my focus was on the Wyvern Divine Tree, as my main goal was to get the dragon egg at its peak. But a second later, the ground suddenly shook. Meanwhile, a swarm of wyverns came rushing toward us from the distance. According to the system panel, these were corpse wyverns. Besides dealing physical damage with their bites, they could release a poisonous gas that reduces a target's attack power by 50%. With the swarm of corpse wyverns closing in, I told Sienna to quickly get ready for battle. With a powerful mountain-shaking strike from Sienna, the resulting shockwave immediately enraged the wyverns. Suddenly, one of them opened its maw and lunged at me. Seeing this, I calmly summoned Luna from my spatial storage. I ordered her to use lava flame to clear out the fodder in front of us. A second later, the searing flames incinerated the wyverns, leaving nothing but ash. Meanwhile, Sienna had been careless for a moment and let a wyvern get too close. Luckily, thanks to her agility, she leaped into the air and dodged the attack. Then, she switched to an armor-piercing flying sword and killed it in one hit. However, since Sienna wasn't familiar with the terrain, she didn't realize she was floating right above a cliff. She intended to summon her 2 flying swords to her side to save herself from this awkward situation. But another wyvern gave her no time to breathe. Just as Sienna was at her wit's end, I appeared above them both. Without a word, I unleashed my Dragon Fang strike. Its immense destructive power instantly sliced the wyvern in half. After that, I shouted to Sienna, "Don't give up. Grab my hand." After a brief moment of shock, Sienna responded. I then used the dragon scale sword as a brace to stabilize my position. But due to inertia, I slid a good distance before finally coming to a stop. To lighten the mood, I said teasingly, "I didn't expect the second-ranked sword master to have an off day." However, our destination definitely wasn't down there. Sienna blushed upon hearing this and gave its thunder a huff. At that moment, she felt completely safe with me by her side. Just then, a massive rumbling sound from below put us both on high alert. Suddenly, the monster that made the noise soared upward, but luckily, I shielded Sienna in my arms, saving her from harm. Feeling an extremely ominous aura emanating from it, I instinctively shouted for Luna to come and protect us. However, Luna's attention was drawn by a sound nearby. A skeletal dragon claw appeared in her sight, followed by a roar that shook the heavens, as the monster's figure was fully revealed. Sienna's 4th flying sword finally appeared during the battle to slay the bone dragon. The experience gained not only raised Flora to level 15, but also unlocked the Eternal and Soul Light forms. In the Soul Light state, she sheds her physical body to attach to an ally, gaining new skills like Soul Protection and Soul Shock. It turns out that after the skeletal giant dragon appeared at the cliff, it opened its maw and lunged straight at Luna, swallowing her whole before she could react. According to the system panel, this monster is called the Berserk Bone Dragon. It can use its skeletal body to increase its defense and unleash wide-area bone blade attacks. It even has a trait where the lower its health, the higher the damage it deals. I quickly carried Sienna up to the top. Hearing the constant chewing sounds coming from the Berserk Bone Dragon, she instinctively told me that Luna might be in grave danger. But I told Sienna not to worry at all. I explained that as the Black Dragon King, Luna would definitely be fine. With that, ignoring Sienna's protests, I sprinted toward the Berserk Bone Dragon. Knowing that the creature before me wouldn't be easy to handle, I immediately shouted for Luna to switch to her World Eater form. The moment she heard my command, Luna's eyes slowly opened in the darkness. As bursts of fire erupted from the Berserk Bone Dragon's mouth, Luna appeared before me, roaring in her World Eater form. Sienna was shocked by this scene. She thought to herself, no wonder Felix was so sure Luna would be fine. To think she had such an overpowered form. Once Luna was out of danger, I immediately summoned Flora. I asked her to cast Emerald Blessing on me. As a pale green light flashed, 3 large emerald markers appeared above my head. After that, I signaled Luna to coordinate with my next attack. Receiving the order, Luna decisively began charging her skill. The moment I raised the dragon scale sword and swung it down. Her World Eater Roar skill caused the Berserk Bone Dragon to lose its ability to move for a short time. And my Dragon Fang strike, boosted by the emerald buff, struck its vital point directly. I thought this attack would send it to the afterlife immediately. But to my surprise, this guy didn't just survive, he even erupted with unprecedented energy. It seemed he intended to take me down with him in a suicide blast. However, just as I was wondering how to handle this crisis, the Berserk Bone Dragon was suddenly struck by a series of red lights. Then, I saw a scythe-like weapon pierce right through its head. I couldn't help but stare in shock. Although I was surprised by Sienna's arrival, I immediately asked where that weapon came from. I learned from Sienna that for her class, the Swordmaster, they get a new weapon every 5 levels. The scythe in her hand was her trump card, called the Karma Fire Scythe. According to the system prompt, this weapon can switch freely between fire and dark attributes, and its attack power increases permanently with every life it reaps. Hearing this, I fell into thought. It turns out Swordmasters don't unlock skills in the traditional sense. Instead, they acquire different weapons to use their special abilities. But before I could think further, the Berserk Bone Dragon's foul claw slammed down toward Flora and me. Seeing this, Sienna immediately waved her hand and used the Karma Fire Scythe's unique skill, Karmic Burst. Even though the Berserk Bone Dragon had the defensive properties of bone armor, its body couldn't withstand the power of that violent explosion. Seeing that it was on its last breath, I told Sienna to leave the rest to me. So, I waved my hand and ordered Flora to use a skill on Luna to boost her Dragon Chi damage. The moment the Emerald Blessing was successfully applied, I immediately shouted at Luna to quickly use her Earth Shatter skill. With a deafening boom, that terrifying destructive power instantly shattered the ground. At that moment, the Berserk Bone Dragon plunged into the abyss and vanished without a trace. Once the battle ended, Flora's level jumped to 15, and I reached level 26. Sienna sighed and said, "I'm sorry. I knew you and Luna could defeat the enemy quickly, but I still didn't step in without your permission. I replied with a smile. What are you talking about? If you hadn't saved me from the Berserk Bone Dragon's self-destruction, I wouldn't have known what to do. Besides, with your help, Flora reached level 15. In addition to her hatchling and dragon girl forms, she also unlocked 2 new forms, Eternal and Soul Light. As I kept petting Flora's little head, Luna was fuming with jealousy behind me. After all, she was the one who contributed the most to the fight. Even after Sienna suggested returning to the Wyvern Divine Tree to continue exploring, the 2 dragons ignored my pleas and kept competing for my affection. Then, the next second, several fireballs rained down from the sky above Sienna's head. Fortunately, the 4 of us reacted quickly, avoiding the brunt of the explosions. Our group quickly took cover behind a large tree. I realized the commotion from our previous battle had been too loud, attracting nearby monsters. Looking closer, I saw a huge swarm of monsters flying toward us. And floating behind them was a massive dragon. My Emerald Dragon hatchling finally transformed while fighting the Wyvern Legion. Her new ability could not only completely absorb enemy attacks, but also reflect that damage back at double strength. It turns out that after seeing the wyverns circling in the sky, I asked Flora to switch to her Soul Light form and attach herself to Luna, who was in her World Eater form, to ensure our trip to the Wyvern Divine Tree went smoothly. Then, I sprinted toward our destination with Sienna. At that moment, Flora and Luna completed their form shift. According to the status panel, Soul Protection not only boosts an ally's attributes by 200%, but also absorbs all damage taken until 10 stacks are reached, triggering a Chi shock against the enemy. The Soul Shock requires continuous channeling of Dragon Chi, which is all released upon attacking the target. Flora had already successfully cast Soul Protection on Luna. As a dragon's roar echoed around us, Luna's attributes experienced a massive leap. Seeing this, Sienna immediately asked a question. Sienna asked why Flora's skill boost was so effective on Luna. I told her that Flora's traits work even better for the dragon race. With Luna in her World Eater form, combined with Flora's Soul Shelter and her bloodline traits, her power now definitely exceeds 26,000 points. But suddenly, countless fireballs rained down above Luna's head. I quickly shouted for Luna not to fight back and to just keep moving forward. Then I told Flora to absorb the damage. Following my order, Flora used psychokinesis to control the fireballs. Seeing that the green rings above her head had reached 10 layers, I shouted, "Now, release the aura shock." As soon as I spoke, Flora without hesitation reflected all the attacks back at the wyvern swarm. Sienna was shocked, wondering if a support-type dragon pet could actually use attack skills. I confirmed it and explained that this was a built-in effect of Flora's Soul Shelter skill. It allows her to counterattack by accumulating damage from enemies. Hearing this, Sienna fell into deep thought. She thought my dragon pets were like her weapons, where upgrading only increased basic stats, not that they could unlock entirely new skills. A sudden gale rushing toward her snapped Sienna back to reality. Looking closely, she saw a giant dragon covered in silver armor ahead. From the system panel, I learned that this monster was a level 60 Steelbone Wyvern. It could not only reduce incoming damage by 50%, but could also flap its wings rapidly to damage and slow down its enemies. It even had an instant kill effect on targets with less than 10,000 stamina. Sensing danger, the Steelbone Wyvern let out a roar and immediately used Steelbone Thrust, diving straight down toward Luna. Seeing this, Sienna said anxiously, "Felix, let's go help her. That Steelbone Wyvern is a very dangerous lesser dragon species." However, I told Sienna not to worry, then ordered Flora to prepare her attack skill, Soul Shock. A dazzling green light began to emanate from Flora's chest. Then, with a wave of my hand, I used Dragon's Inspiration on Luna. At that moment, Luna's overall attributes received another massive boost. At the same time, Flora's Soul Shock finished charging, and a sharp green beam of light pierced through the Steelbone Wyvern. This was immediately followed by Luna's Dragon Claw, which possessed a staggering 30,000 strength points. Although the Steelbone Wyvern lost an arm from the attack, in the blink of an eye, it shifted its target to Sienna and me. Sienna immediately summoned 2 flying swords to prepare for battle, because in her eyes, although she seemed insignificant compared to a Dragon Master, she had to fulfill her duty as a teammate. With that in mind, Sienna switched her Karmic Fire Scythe to the Dark attribute, and she once again used her exclusive skill, Karmic Burst. She thought this attack would at least deal some damage to the Steelbone Dragon. However, to Sienna's surprise, the part that was hit didn't even lose a single layer of skin. Seeing this, I comforted her. "It's okay, Sienna. Just leave the finishing blow to me. Besides, I appreciate how you're always thinking of your teammates. So there's no need to feel guilty about things that are beyond your capabilities." After saying that, I called Flora to my side and asked her to attach herself to me. The next second, A dragon fang strike boosted by the blood pact slammed directly into the steel-bone dragon's face. After successfully taking down the mini-boss, Luna reached level 20 and unlocked a new skill, Pressure. Looking at Sienna, who was still in shock, I told her that the steel-bone dragon wasn't even a threat in Luna's eyes. Unexpectedly, Sienna immediately burst out laughing. She said she suddenly remembered something Penny once told her. Felix has such a powerful dragon that even if he were walking a dog, he'd still dominate the battlefield. But when I told Sienna that she was not only cute right now, but even her laugh sounded lovely, her face immediately turned red. She couldn't understand why I would suddenly say such a thing. And so, the two of us continued chatting happily. Unaware, we continued walking deeper into the forest. Meanwhile, at the top of the Wyvern Divine tree, a deep blue dragon egg seemed to be on the verge of hatching. The battle has begun. This time, we're not only facing enemies with absolute defense, but even a three-headed wyvern that masters 3 different elemental skills. It all started after everyone teamed up to take down the steel-bone wyvern. Sienna and I began walking slowly toward the depths of the Wyvern Divine tree. When Sienna mentioned that she had also reached level 25, I instinctively asked, "Did you unlock a new weapon?" In response, Sienna summoned a flying sword emitting a pink aura, explaining that it was an agility-type weapon. Unfortunately, its level was too low to be very powerful. According to the system, this sword was called Manhwa, and its skill allowed it to split into thousands of smaller blades, dealing area damage equal to 10% of the original weapon's power. I smiled and told her that was only for now, and once Manhwa reaches level 25, its damage will definitely be extraordinary. Sienna fell into a pensive, somewhat disappointed silence, thinking that even if all her flying swords reached level 25, they still wouldn't match the damage Luna deals in a single attack. But then she reminded herself that dragons are the strongest creatures on the continent. Sienna brushed aside her worries and smiled. "Let's hurry up, or we'll never catch up to Luna and the others." Soon, our path was blocked by what we saw ahead. Several corpses that had been dead for a long time lay on the ground. After a quick analysis, I realized these people were likely explorers who had previously come to the Wyvern Cemetery realm. They had all perished at different times. This meant there was likely a danger lurking nearby. Just as I was warning Sienna that monsters likely occupied this area and that we needed to stay fully alert, a dark shadow appeared silently behind me. Then, there was a loud bang. The sudden noise gave Sienna a start. Immediately after, a cyan-colored wyvern appeared in view. According to the system panel, this monster was a level 60 bronze wyvern. Its ability was to grant allies a massive defense boost. But before anyone could react, another wyvern with 3 heads appeared in the air. This 3-headed elemental wyvern wasn't just level 65. It could also simultaneously release area of effect damage of fire, ice, and lightning. As long as one elemental head remained intact, the others would revive after a short time. Facing a situation where we encountered 2 bosses at once, Sienna cried out in shock. She never expected monsters to coordinate their attacks. As the 3-headed elemental wyvern's triple magic was about to finish charging, Luna charged toward it without hesitation. But even though Luna's dragon claws hit directly, it only managed to interrupt the lightning element's casting. This was because of the bronze armor effect. The 3-headed elemental wyvern didn't take any substantial damage. Seeing the bronze wyvern pounce at her, Sienna took a fighting stance and said, "This thing's ability to boost its defense is too troublesome. We have to deal with her first." Hearing this, I told Sienna there was no need to panic and to go ahead and summon Iris to level up, as I already had a plan. I ordered Flora to switch the soul light to me while I prepared to use soul shock. But the moment my dragon scale sword hit, the opponent used a defensive barrier to block most of the damage. Meanwhile, Luna successfully dodged the 3-headed elemental wyvern's attack. Seeing this, I immediately shouted, "Luna, quickly switch to World Eater form and use your new pressure skill." Upon receiving the order, Luna was suddenly engulfed in raging flames, and the next second, she let out a deafening dragon roar. That terrifying pressure immediately paralyzed the bronze wyvern, and even the nearby 3-headed elemental wyvern began to tremble uncontrollably. It turns out this skill continuously releases pressure, causing fear, rooting, or stunning effects for enemies in a wide area. Even Sienna covered her ears in pain, saying that Luna's skill was so powerful it felt like her head was about to split open. Considering Sienna was on the verge of a mental breakdown, I decisively launched an attack alongside Flora. As my Dragon Fang strike and Soul Shock slammed into the bronze wyvern, its bronze armor skill was interrupted. Seeing our opening, I immediately shouted to Luna, "Now, kill them." Luna let out a roar and pinned the 3-headed elemental wyvern firmly against the wall. Then, she ripped its head clean off. As I helped Sienna to her feet, I reminded Luna not to take things too far. Just then, the system notification rang out. Luna had reached level 22. Flora had reached level 17. And Sienna had jumped 2 levels to reach level 27. As for me, I was the highest at level 28. Looking at Flora, who was playing with the elemental wyvern's head in midair, I warned her to be well-behaved, and not to be like Luna, who doesn't know when to stop. Meanwhile, Sienna looked quite depressed. She was known as a genius of the Yunbei province. Yet while teaming up with me, she felt she couldn't be of any help. While Sienna was lost in thought, a system prompt caught my attention. I patted her shoulder and said, "To stop the three-headed elemental wyvern from reviving, we must destroy all its heads simultaneously. Let's leave it to the playful Luna. Let's head back to the camp and get some rest." Night fell in the blink of an eye. The thoughtful Sienna opened the tent with some food, mentioning that Sister Hannah had prepared it for us before we left. However, when she looked up, she realized everyone was already gone. Seeing this, Sienna was immediately disheartened. She thought, "You finally realized I'm just another burden, haven't you?" But what she didn't know was that I had already followed the system's prompt and reached the top of the Wyvern Divine Tree. After all, my real purpose for coming to the Wyvern Cemetery was to obtain the treasure from the God-level treasure map. It was finally revealed. Not only could she apply 2 buffs to allies simultaneously, but she also used her new skill, Eternal Guardian, to completely neutralize the boss Wyvern King's Dragonic magic, Doomsday Fall. It turns out that right after I followed the system's prompt and reached the top of the Wyvern Divine Tree, the 2 giant dragon eggs in front of me suddenly shattered. Then, 2 wyverns emitting an aura of death appeared before me. According to the system panel, they were actually Wyvern King souls with levels exceeding 70. Their abilities not only allowed them to ignore armor and deal piercing damage, but they could even convert skills into Dragonic magic. As the 2 wyverns roared and dove toward me, I immediately summoned Luna and Flora. After all, there was still a massive gap in levels between us. I had no reason to underestimate this fight. The commotion at the top also successfully caught Sienna's attention. Recalling how I had saved her every time she was in danger, Sienna was suddenly overcome with deep guilt. She knew that even if she tried to help, she would only be a burden. But when she thought of my unabashed smile, Sienna immediately made up her mind to head toward the source of the noise. Meanwhile, my battle with the Wyvern Kings was heating up. However, to my surprise, their attack and defense were far superior to any enemy I'd faced before. Moreover, their coordination was as if they shared a single mind. Thinking this, I decisively cast Dragon's Inspiration on Luna. At the same time, I told her to prepare her Lava Flame skill. Having received the order, Luna used her Dragon Claws to pin down the Wyvern King's wings, while simultaneously charging up an attack in her mouth. A second later, a blast of searing flames slammed directly into the enemy's body. But at that exact moment, the other Wyvern King launched a soul thrust at me, just as I ordered Flora to switch to the Eternal One to block the attack. Thousands of flying swords suddenly appeared in the sky, interrupting the Wyvern King's skill. My eyes widened at the sight. I wondered, isn't that Manhwa, the weapon Sienna just acquired? Soon, Sienna's voice drifted over from nearby. Sienna told me not to worry, saying she would prioritize her own safety now, and would provide support for me from the rear. Feeling Sienna's strong determination, I replied with 2 words. Understood. I then had Flora activate the skill, Life Pulse. The emerald on her chest immediately emitted a dazzling light. According to the system, activating the Eternal One grants 2 new skills, Life Pulse and Eternal Guardian. Life Pulse can not only apply Emerald Light and Emerald Blessing to allies, but it can also double the effect stacks. Seeing the markers for both skills appear over Luna's head, I immediately shouted to her, "Luna, tear them apart." Seeing the timing was right, I immediately raised my hand to use the Dragonic magic, Blue Dragon King's Roar. But even though Luna's and my attacks hit the enemies precisely, they immediately released the Dragonic magic, Doomsday Fall. Seeing this, Sienna broke into a cold sweat, wondering what on earth that skill was. I immediately explained to her, "This is a boss-exclusive skill called Dragonic Unbinding. It allows them to replace their own skills with powerful Dragonic magic." While we were talking, the Wyvern King let out a long, sky-piercing roar. Sensing something was wrong, I immediately shouted, "Quick, come protect me." The next second, a violent explosion erupted where we were standing. It turns out Doomsday Fall works by sacrificing its own health to deal massive damage to the enemy. Soon, a faint green light appeared in the smoke. Then, everyone under Flora's barrier perfectly dodged the Wyvern King's final death throes. It turns out Eternal Guardian depends on the user's vitality and recovery power to generate a corresponding protective barrier. At this moment, Sienna couldn't help but exclaim, "We really owe this to Flora. Otherwise, I thought I was a goner." Hearing this, I patted Flora's little head and highly praised her contribution. But seeing the intimacy between the two, Luna suddenly felt a surge of jealousy. She let out a cold huff, feeling that her master was being far too biased. I quickly comforted her, "Luna, you were great in the battle too. Thanks to your incredibly high skill damage, We were able to clear the stage. Then, I asked Sienna to forgive me for leaving the camp without permission. I explained that I just wanted to go out and find some things, not expecting to run into the boss along the way. Sienna responded with a smile. I know you're not the type of person to abandon your teammates. And the way you fight enemies alone reminds me of what you once told me. Even though you're strong, I'll never let you fight alone. I finally obtained my third dragon egg. But even though I used my exclusive contract skill, dragon taming art, I still couldn't get the third dragon pet to hatch. It even made Flora seriously suspect that it was just a rotten egg. It turns out that after everyone finished the battle with the Wyvern King's soul, I opened the rewards from clearing the stage. To my shock, the treasure chest actually contained a piece of legendary equipment. According to the system panel, this equipment was called the Wyvern King's Soul Wings. Not only does it grant the user the ability to fly, but it can also replace dragonic magic with a high-tier unbinding magic. The second item was an epic-grade dragon saddle, which allows the user to become a dragon knight. It also boosts all attributes for both the rider and the pet.